Case number 156 on the calendar in the matter of Gray versus Ashpole. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Gray, you and the defendant dated briefly while she was separated from her husband. And according to your complaint, during that time you made 2 loans to her. The first loan was for an attorney, and the second was to catch up on a mortgage payment. The defendant says you never made any loans to her, but did give her money. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Now, when did you meet her?
It was during bowling season.
I don't know when bowling season is, sir.
About 2001.
Excuse me?
In the fall.
Can you get any closer by, say, month?
Okay, August. How's that?
August of 2001.
Yes. And we were just friends up at the bowling alley, sitting there talking and, you know, joking around. Eventually, right around St. Patrick's Day. All right.
We're going to have a conversation here, which means you'll talk and then I'll talk.
Okay.
Did you meet her at bowling?
She was a waitress, I was a bowler. Yes.
When did you separate from your husband?
In June.
So you were separated at the time that you met the plaintiff, is that right?
No, we were friends when I was at work. So I knew him while I was still married, yes.
But in August of 2001 is when you started to date him?
No.
When?
May of 2001.
And when did you separate from your husband?
In June.
Okay. Shh. When was this loan for a lawyer?
Roughly August 2001.
Is that right?
July of 2001.
Now I'd like you to tell me the circumstances surrounding that, sir. You're not very good at dates. Let's see if you're better at the substantive part of it.
I'm the lawyer. She come up to me and she was having trouble and she wanted a divorce from her husband.
But you were dating at that time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I had a good lawyer friend that I referred her to, and he cut her a deal and gave her half of the retainer fee. So I gave her the $750 in cash so she could go get things taken care of. And at that point, I made her understand it was still a loan to her, not a gift.
How did you make that clear, sir?
Just by talking and told her what I said.
I want you to tell me what you said and what she said.
She told me she would pay me back within a reasonable short amount of time.
She said she would pay you back?
Yes, she did.
Now, what's your version of the lawyer story?
The lawyer story is that he had
Look at me.
this great friend that worked on his divorce case, and I needed to get this started. And he gave me the money.
Now, what did you say to him and what did he say to you?
Let me give you the money. Let me help you. Let me give you the money to get it. Otherwise, where are you going to be? You're not going to have an attorney. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you. You're not going to have an attorney without any money. Let me help you. There was nothing ever about any loan.
Well, why would he give
any
you
payback?
Why would he give you that money? Why would you not expect to
He
pay
wanted
it
my
back?
divorce.
You wanted a divorce. Why?
I think actually he wanted it probably more than I did.
No. No. Why would you think that you should not pay him back?
Because I didn't, at that particular time, I did not have the means to pay him back, and he knew that. I had told him that, and then this is also about the mortgage.
Well, you didn't get to the mortgage
I know,
yet.
but I knew that I have 3 children. I'm not getting child support. I'm a working mom. I'm not going to give up my home. At one point, I even had 3 jobs to support my means.
Okay. Now tell me about the mortgage payments, sir.
Well, she was
That's the second loan.
She was behind 3 months in her mortgage.
How did you know that?
She told me.
Where were you when she told you that?
We were probably just sitting in her bedroom.
Go ahead.
And she said she was 3 months behind. And she asked if I could help her out. And I said, yes, I can. But like again, I loaned her the money. And I made the payments.
Now I'll hear you.
I have never asked him to give me money. I have never asked him to loan me money. I never asked him for anything. We might have been sitting on my bed talking, and I was venting because I was very upset. I was behind. I was not getting any help from my husband that had moved out. But I had never asked him for anything.
You told him that you were 3 months behind in your mortgage payment. How did he pay the mortgage payment?
Actually, I was paying bills, writing things out.
On the bed?
Because I had it out, right. I was paying my other bills that I could afford to pay. I could not afford to pay this. He took the statement out of my hand, picked up the phone, and made a check over the phone to pay the mortgage. And I was telling him,
Is that
no,
right, sir? You paid
please
it over
do
the
not
phone?
do that.
I made it by Visa, yes.
You made it by Visa over the phone.
Yes.
And I kept saying, please do not do that. Because if I would have had anything to do with this, I would have at least made him make sure that he paid the right amount. Because he didn't pay the whole thing.
How much was the mortgage?
$3,000.
Your Honor, I would like to also say some other things that I have here.
Go ahead.
After my husband had left, we've never lived together, but Tim never went home. He asked me if he was getting low on his check, should he reorder some and put them in my address. I told him no, it was too soon. I did not think that this was a good idea. To go open my mailbox 2 weeks later to find a box of checks in his name only in my address. He has also bought siding to my shed that I told him to return.
So?
I also fixed a lot of stuff in the house.
You
Shortly
cared-
after her husband
You
left.
cared for her.
Oh, yes, I cared very much.
You cared
And,
for her. Did you follow through with your divorce?
It's in the works right now.
What happened to the two of you? Just curious.
Well, she couldn't handle my kids. My kids are very outspoken. They tell it as it is, and that's the way I
They
raised
lie.
them.
Just a second.
The raised-
Maybe they're just rude.
No, this is the way we were. We just, told it as this. And she just couldn't handle the way they were.
How old are your children?
I got 4, 22, 21, 19, and 16. And, I love them dearly. And she couldn't handle it, so she, went her way a little while. Before I knew that, she was starting to date another guy from the bar. Past I heard that she was back with her husband again, from what I heard, and here I am.
Is that true?
No, it's not.
You heard wrong.
Yep, okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Judy.
Tim Gray says ex-girlfriend Lisa Ashpole owes for a loan to retain a divorce attorney and a separate loan to pay her mortgage. Lisa says Tim was attempting to buy her love.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
I am usually not predisposed to finding that monies paid under these circumstances are gifts. I'm usually predisposed to find that even under these circumstances, there is some obligation to repay money. Because if I find that one person is trying to get over on another, I think there's a certain inequity there. If you care for her more than she cares for you, and she's using that and is sort of bilking you for money, I think that that's an immoral thing, and that shouldn't happen. I don't get the sense of that here, sir. I really don't. What I do is sense, Mr. Gray, that you cared for her. You wanted her not to be stressed. You knew she was hardworking, and she was trying to make ends meet. She wasn't getting much money from her husband, the father of these children, and you wanted to help her because you cared for her. You had checks printed with her address. You planned on moving in to her home. You planned on being a family together. So I don't believe that under those circumstances you would have said to her, this is a loan.
But
I don't believe that that happened, sir. I
I-
believe that when she was sitting on the bed and being very unhappy because she had all of this mounting debt, you, in a very magnanimous way, like a hero, got up, went to the phone, called your Visa, and said, I want you to pay this bill.
that wasn't the way it happened, Your
I
Honor.
think it probably was, Mr. Gray.
She was very manipulative on what she did a lot of things on.
That may be true, sir. That's not what you told me
But I
before.
don't loan that type of money without.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You do if you're in love. You do if you're in love. You say, I want us to be together, and I want us to have a future together, and I don't want you to be stressed, and I want to show you that I can help take care of you, and that's what I'm going to do. And I believe that's what you did, Mr. Gray. And while my rulings usually do not go this way, I don't believe she was being manipulative. I believe that you were being in love and reacting appropriately, and unfortunately it didn't work out.
Maybe
You say
I
it was
was.
because of your kids. Maybe it was. But certainly, I don't believe she was being manipulative. I think that in the time that you were together, I think that she probably cared for you. Is that true?
Well, she cared, but she also agreed that she would pay me back.
I don't believe that, Mr. Gray. Your case is dismissed.
Audience are excused. You may step out.
With outspokenness, because I can be very outspoken as well.
She lied through her way and got her way out of it again.
His 16-year-old slapped my 6-year-old and left a big welt on his buttocks. Yeah.
Case.
All parties in the matter of Beausoleil versus Bridges. Step forward, please.
Doll artist Carol Beausoleil is suing computer business owner Jeff Bridges for a refund on a computer. Carol says Jeff sold an outdated computer to her minor son.
Miss Beausoleil, where is your son?
He didn't come because he's afraid to go on planes, and he just felt really awkward, and
How old is he?
17.
He didn't come because he's embarrassed. I can understand why he would be embarrassed under the circumstances of this case.
Oh, okay,
According to
yeah,
your
you're
complaint, Miss Beausoleil, your son wanted a computer, and he had a friend who worked in a computer store. Two of you discussed it and thought it would be a good idea for him to go to the computer store where his friend works. Are you the friend?
Yes.
For him to buy a computer, a used computer, because he needed it for the internet.
Right.
So he went with his friend to the computer store owned by the defendant and was sold a used computer with a monitor. The whole package was $420?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. And you say the computer crashed at some point and you want your money back.
Yeah.
What date did you sell the boy the computer?
Speaking to me, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your
I'm
Honor?
looking at you, I'm talking to you.
Sorry. I sold it on March 28th of 2002, and it was a used computer system.
Okay. And you told him it was used.
Yes, I did.
Did he give you a deposit?
Yes, he gave me a $50 deposit.
Did he take the computer with him?
No, not right away.
So he really bought it on layaway?
Yes.
Now, when your son came home, your son was 17 at the time?
Yeah.
Did you discuss with your son that he had found a computer that he liked and he put a $50 deposit on it?
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So did you go down to the computer store to
Yes.
look at it?
Yep.
You did?
Yep. It looked brand new.
Well, you knew it wasn't brand new. You
No.
knew it was used.
It was a few years old.
When did you take the computer home?
It was about a month after. We brought it home.
Just to answer my questions. Your son isn't here,
Okay.
so I have to do this my way. Mr. Bridges, what date did they take the computer home?
Forgive me. Oh, great. I'm a little nervous. I apologize.
Don't be nervous. I only eat litigants on Tuesdays. It's just Tuesday.
हाँ खाना खाएंगे आप बाबा खाएंगे लाइए हाँ लाइए लाइए बाबा को लाइए
बच्चे और तुम्हें एक हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल की जरूरत है दुबई से बनाते मैंने चैनल पर मोहब्बत बूढ़ी हो रही तबाकागर और सल्फान ने सबके दिल जीत लिए टेलीफिल्म के लिए एक हफ्ते में 20 लाख के करीब यूट्यूब व्यू और जिस्मानी नशोनुमा के लिए शुरू कराएं वायु का
वो बिग सेल बायो के
मेरे पास तो कुछ भी नहीं है थोड़ा सा कुछ
मनपसंद चीजें और खाने एंजॉय कर सकते हैं मैं रेकमेंड करती हूँ सेंसराइज एडवर्टाइजमेंट और बेचाना बकायदे से इस्तेमाल क्योंकि ये सारे पेशेंट्स वापस आके बताते हैं एक बार
That's the ball in the back end. You buy capitals, they go at it again. Match number 4. PM in Abu Dhabi. Stadium down the road to Abu Dhabi.
एडमिशन वाला खाना मायरा आओ चिन खिला दूं प्लीज प्लीज मायरा खाना चिन
Over the top of the short third, down the boundary.
मम्मा मेरे को चार ले ले
आप लगा लेना ऐसा क्या मायरा के लिए
बाबा खाना चाहिए
लाइए क्या खिलाएंगे बाबा तो Oh wow Maya yummy yummy give it to me हाँ लेकर आओ thank you Maya हाँ वो ना दे दी आपने जल्दी 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 बना के बाबा ने जल्दी जल्दी हमारा बाबा के लिए खाना बना के लेकर आओ
अब्दुल्ला जी तुम्हें कुछ पकाने की जरूरत नहीं है जरा
एक लोग दुपट्टा लेकर बैठे मजा आ रही है
समझ तो मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आया यार
थैंक यू मायरा
लो
बाय 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 बाय
मायरा
अब्दुल्ला दी
चिन कौन खाएगा पोती पोती कौन खाएगा आओ बैठो
थैंक यू
आओ बैठो अरमेश लड़के कोई आवाज नहीं निकालेगा पोती खाना है
थैंक यू मायरा
अच्छा चलिए आई क्या कर रहे लड़का पता नहीं जल्दी खाओ नो टाइम लो देखिए जी एक हाथ से पकड़ा भी जरूर
आइए इधर आइए बाबा से इधर आइए
खड़े रहो बेटा
ओहो मायरा
हमारा बाइट लेने आए अच्छा तो बाइट तो ले ले
नहीं मम्मा बाइक नहीं जाइए
चिन ले ले बदमाशी नहीं करे जल्दी आए बदमाशी लेकर तो चिन पे आती है चिन पे आती है लो चिन
What is this? What this place is?
खाने खागा
खाने का जाना है आपको इस प्लेस में जाना है What is this? This is Allah house.
उसको पता है पूछे
हाउस ऑफ अल्लाह ठीक है अब्दुल्ला दी हम लोग सब चल रहे हैं यहाँ पे हमारे को भी लेके जाएंगे मम्मा को भी लेके जाएंगे दादा को भी लेके जाएंगे दादू को भी लेके जाएंगे मम्मा भी वहाँ पी लेंगे जाके हम लोग
इधर आना जरा बुड्ढी बुड्ढी नहीं बुड्ढी इधर आओ नहीं नहीं बेबी को जोर से हैंडल
यहाँ पे चलेंगे इस वाले
लो बेटा चिन चिन थूकना नहीं पानी दो उसको वो आपका फिड्डू ले आराम से पहले फीडर ले ले सब रख दे आपको मिर्ची लगी है मायरा जल्दी से पिला दो बेटा होती अच्छी है तूने आदि की हालत देखी होती अच्छी है मुँह देखिए नहीं चाहिए अच्छा मामा ले लो हमारा मेयोनीज ले लो हटो मेरी जगह कढ़ाई लो लो बना लूंगी इसके बाद लो बोल रहे सब रोज बना लूं लोखा बनेगा जरा सा हड्डी वालों के साथ होता था रोज तो मजा ही हड्डी में बेटा बोल रहा है उसको बुलाओ लेकिन ये तो मायरा की बाइट थी रमेश आपने क्यों मायरा प्यार से बोलो
मायरा इधर आओ चिंचिन लेने जल्दी से
मायरा बाइट लेनी पड़ेगी
रमेश आप मत हाथ लगाइए ना
बाइट लेके चले जाओ इधर आओ जाओ रमेश आओ तुम तो मेरे पास बैठ जाओ प्याला लेके बैठ जाओ ना क्या हुआ दोपहर में जब मैंने लोगों को ऑमलेट खिलाया ये पीछे से हाथ ऐसे ऐसे करके ऑमलेट मारा सब मैंने ऑमलेट दे ये तो आपने मुझे पहले भी बताया था पिज्जा पराठा खा लिया बल्कि बिलाल शुजा के साथ अंडे का पिज्जा पराठा अच्छी लग रही है
Delay says business owner Jeff Bridges sold a worthless computer to her minor son.
Go ahead.
Okay. 328 is what I have.
328 is the first payment of $50, Mr. Bridges.
I'm sorry. Actually, Your Honor, if I may show these to you, because
Why? If you can't find it, why are you giving it to me? I don't get tortured, Mr. Bridges.
Well,
she says it was a month later, so let's say it was a month later.
Okay,
they
yeah.
made the final payment, you gave them the computer.
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Beausoleil, you now bring the computer home. Who made the last payment, you or your son?
I gave my son the money to go and put down.
All right, after you had already been there to see it.
Right.
Fine.
If I may, Your Honor, she actually came into this, the store to make the last payment and a check.
Well, you had to bring it in the car. We had to, you know.
Oh, so you went and made the last payment.
With my son.
Fine. No, you went. You're the adult. Your son is a minor. He cannot enter into a contract.
Right. Okay.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
If your son had gone in there alone, Mr. Bridges might have had a problem. But your son didn't go there alone. He went there with you, Miss Beausoleil.
Right.
You knew you weren't getting any guarantee with the computer.
Oh, yeah, there's a guarantee. I have a guarantee here.
Let me see it.
And I have this over here that I underlined.
Let's see what the guarantee is. Well, where's the guarantee?
At the very bottom.
It says all repairs are guaranteed for 30 days.
But, I mean, as far as the warranty, too. There's a warranty on it.
Listen, help me out here. Just let her point it to you, Bird. You can point it to me, and then it'll make my life easier.
May I speak?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, he reassured me, I mean, you know, because we were going to have it fixed, and then...
Miss Beausoleil, there was no warranty with this computer. The piece of paper that you gave me said that all repairs done by them are guaranteed for 30 days. You have a document there that does not have a warranty. Is that correct?
Okay, but on the day we picked it up, from that date on, we still had the 30 days.
No! You don't have 30 days. You didn't have a computer repaired. You bought a computer, a used computer that came without a warranty, which is exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's getting harder. Now, you bring the computer home.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you got it home?
So he set everything up, the technician helped him, and then the system stated it wasn't internet ready, that he needed a lot more RAM. So that was fine. So Linus offered his assistance and added these few things for the computer. And then when I called Jeffrey...
Linus? Is that your name?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, that's my
Yes
son's
is all
name.
I need from you.
So
So
then
he came over and he added stuff for the,
Yeah,
for the
which was
computer.
nice. I mean, we
Good.
didn't think there was a problem with the computer. We
Good.
thought
Next.
it just needs a few RAMs. So then I called Mr. Bridges to tell him, and he says, well, you know what, Carol, the new modem, it's in the mail. It hasn't arrived yet, but you can use the one we have. But, you know, I just closed my business. He was open for a month. And I figured, well, we'll
Did
just
it
have him-
work? Listen to me. Did it work after Linus put in the RAMs or doodads or whatever it did? Did it work?
It was
For a day, for 2 days, for 5 days?
It worked for some game procedures, but it was very slow.
I don't care if it was slow or not.
Yeah.
It's an old thing, as my husband
Yeah.
says. You know, when he has a computer and it's more than 6 months old, he says to me, oh, it's a dinosaur. I need a new computer. You know?
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
So what are you complaining about?
Well, when I talked to DSL, they said they couldn't, that we couldn't deal with DSL. So in other words, my son couldn't go on internet. He couldn't go on the internet.
What do you want from me? What do you want from Mr. Bridges? You should have made all of these inquiries before you bought the computer. Before you bought the computer. You bought a computer that did not have any warranties whatsoever on it.
Yeah, but he gave me his phone number and said, Carol, if anything goes wrong, just give me a call. So I did. He hung up on me. I had to call the police, and then he did.
What'd you call the police for?
Because he called me a controlling, and he pressed the button. He pressed the button.
So
and it's
you
like,
bothered the police with that?
No, but it seems like when he sold the computer, and after we had it in our house, oh, well, no big deal. I mean,
That's what happens. He's a merchant. Miss Beausoleil, do your homework better the next time. If you buy something that's used, especially a computer, what I suggest you do is, I suggest you read all kinds of magazines, get a hold of Consumer Reports, get a hold of everything else, and make an informed judgment. When you're buying something used, it's no different from buying it off the street, unless you get a guarantee from someone that they will honor repairing, maintaining it, or whatever for a period of time.
Well,
The fact that he went out of business, he doesn't have to stay in business to satisfy you. If he can't make a living, he's entitled to go out of business.
Yeah.
You bought a computer with no recourse because you have no guarantee. And anything that's not in your contract, the fact that he gave you his phone number, you cannot amend a written contract, which is what you have, with an oral statement, call me if you have any problems. That's what everybody says. That's like the check is in the mail. You know, call me with any problems. Ms. Beausoleil, you should be wise enough not to get involved with something like this.
But see, it was because of Linus being my son's friend. Linus knows more about computers. My son is kind of illiterate when it comes to computers.
Then buy him a new computer with a guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Case is dismissed.
Now, this is case number 200 on the calendar in the matter of Wofford versus Cox. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Wofford, you and the defendant, according to your complaint, had an off-again, on-again relationship for about 7 years.
Correct.
The last time it was off again, it is your claim that he came into the house and took all the property, half of which was yours. He says he got sick and tired of being tossed out with the clothes on his back over the 7-year period and decided that he was going to take the property this time because he paid for it and it's his. He's got a counterclaim for a truck that he purchased for $750 that he says was put in your name because he had some driver's license problems and you had the truck towed onto your property and he wants his truck back. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is, why are you bothering me? Together on and off for 7 years, not married. You see, we don't have courts here for those people who choose just to live together. We have courts for people who are married and divorcing. You know, the property is either community property or it's property that is divided by equitable distribution. But you expect me to go back and figure out who bought what? Is that what you want?
No.
No.
So what do you want?
I would like half of what was given, or half of what was ours.
Who bought it?
We bought it together. We shared all of our monies together.
Did you have a joint bank account?
No, we did not.
You mean you would see a TV and you would say, well, the TV is $500. Here's $250 and here's $250.
That's correct.
Show me.
No, well,
The burden is on her. Just listen to me. The burden is on her.
Okay, I would be more than glad to show you proof of receipts, but when he came into my house after the day he broke the restraining order, they took all the receipts. They took the contents of the file came. So I have no receipts. I have pictures of what the TV looks like. I have warranty cards on it.
Did you
That's
go
all
into
I
the
have
house after there was a restraining order filed against you?
I thought I was illegally served. I even called the courts. It was the next day. I went back and only took what things were mine.
Tell me what you took.
I took my TV, my camping gear, my skis, and things that my parents have given me over
Like
the
what?
years. Tin cans that we collect.
What else?
And my clothes. VCR that a friend of mine owed me $20, and he gave me his VCR instead because he didn't have the money to pay me back.
What else?
That's all I can remember.
Okay. Now, how long did you live in this apartment together?
About 5 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, a little over
Very
5
good.
years.
Did you sleep in a bed?
Yes, we did.
Did he take the bed?
No.
Did you sit
was
on
too
the
big.
couch? Shh. Did you sit on a couch?
Yes.
Did he take the couch?
No.
Did you eat on a table?
Yes.
Did he take the table?
Yes, he did.
Kitchen table?
Yes.
Did you take the table?
Yes. I just purchased it.
Just a second.
Oh.
Took the table. Take the chairs that went with the table?
There was 2 chairs with it.
2 chairs. Now let's go back to the living room. There's a sofa.
Yes.
Is there any chair in the living room?
There was 1 chair.
Did he take the chair?
Yes, he did.
Is that right?
The recliner chair that my mom gave me, yes.
Where did she give us? Did
My
his
mom
mother
never gave
give-
you anything.
Shh. Come on. Swafford. Did the recliner chair come from his mother?
Yes.
Is there a cocktail table in the living room?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And?
He took that also, which was a Christmas gift.
Just a second. Did you know, Mr. Cox, when I ask you what you took, you're
I know,
supposed to
I'm
answer
sorry.
me, sir.
I'm a little nervous, that's all.
I don't care if you're nervous or not. You remembered your skis and you remember the $20 VCR. When I ask you what you took, you're supposed to tell me. How many pieces of furniture did you leave?
Everything that was hers. The couch. She has another kitchen table upstairs. All 4 chairs that go to that kitchen table.
Just a minute. Is there another kitchen table in the house?
Yes, there was.
And did he leave it?
Oh, yes, he did.
Good. What else?
That was hers.
Oh, just a second. What else did you leave is what I want to know.
Her microwave, the microwave stand. All
Okay,
the
just a second. Was there a microwave in the house?
Yes.
And did he leave it?
Yes.
You see, what I'm trying to get at,
I
Ms.
see.
Swafford, is the following. I have absolutely no intention of wasting my time in going through a bunch of ridiculous items of property. You now have a house. Your house has a bed to sleep in, a table and chairs to eat off of, a couch to sit on, right?
Yes, correct.
You have a microwave, and I assume an oven. Oven is kind of hard to say, but you have a microwave to warm things up, and as far as I'm concerned, that's as much cooking as any natural person has to have. So you have a perfectly livable condition, and I have no intention of going through items like a table and 2 chairs. You got a table and 2 chairs, you got a table and 4 chairs. You got a couch, you took the recliner chair.
Okay, may I say something? There was personal items of mine that he took.
Like what?
When he took his clothes out of the closet, instead of looking, he just gathered them up like this. There was a ski jacket that was bought for me from my sister. The skis that he took that were given to me by my sister. There was several clothes, my fishing pole, my tackle box, the coffee table that was built for me by my son's friend. And here's a statement from him, from the agreement that him and Ron had on it.
Because I paid for it. That's why the agreement's.
No, that is not.
Well, maybe why don't you explain why we got another coffee
Listen
table?
to me. Listen to me.
I'm sorry.
Now I want to go back to the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Who purchased the truck?
I did.
We did.
Ask her
Just
who,
a second, just a second.
Ask her who the owners were that I bought it from. She don't even know.
How much did the truck cost?
I paid $700 for it.
Where did you get the $700 from?
I made payments as I was working. Each payday, I made payments on it because I couldn't pay $700 up front.
We made payments
Just a
on
second.
it.
Just a second. How did you make payments on it?
Because my boss.
How?
Oh, out of my check.
Check or cash?
Cash.
Now, the rest of the money, sir, went for
Food.
rent and
Rent.
gas and electric, and
And
I
then
assume that you paid those things together.
We did.
Is that right?
My checks usually paid all the bills and stuff because my checks were bigger than her amount because at the time she was only making minimum wage.
Okay, so your checks went to pay the household bills, and her checks went for what?
To get through. She had a direct deposit. In the last 6-8 months, the year that we were together, her money was her money, and mine was mine. More or less, my money got through, and I had to beg her for
That is not true whatsoever.
That
is
is
not.
true.
Everything we had together was paid 50-50. He paid half the rent. I paid half the rent.
Show me.
Electricity.
I have some bills to show you that.
Show me.
I have no.
Did you pay your rent by check?
No, we paid it by cash. And can we
Okay,
get back
listen to me. Listen to me. Hey!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Can we talk about the restraining order he broke?
No.
Ma'am, what about the...
No!
And later today,
This is her signature, 213. No deposit. Price the puppy, $500. No deposit. What are you, a Swiftie? I mean,
No,
what's
ma'am,
wrong
that's
with
her
you?
signature, ma'am.
No, it isn't.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Diane Wofford says ex-boyfriend Ron Cox stole her belongings when he moved out of their apartment. Ron says Diane stole his truck.
Do you have a car?
Yes, I do.
What kind of car do you have?
I have the Toyota pickup and I have a Chevy...
No! What kind of car do you
I have
have?
a Chevy Cavalier that is...
All right. Now, what year car is it?
It's a 90 Chevy Cavalier.
The time that the truck was purchased, were you driving the Chevy Cavalier?
Yes.
And what was Mr. Cox driving?
He wasn't driving anything at the time because he doesn't have a driver's license.
Bird, would you give me the title, please?
Can we talk about the restraining order he broke?
No.
Okay. Can we talk about his
You could talk
alcoholism?
about that. You could talk about that with your children, but I'm not interested in it. I'm just interested in getting this.
Sorry.
I'm just interested in right now the truck. Oh, okay. I see that this truck was purchased in two people's names. Is that right?
I purchased.
Is that right?
It is at the time, yeah.
All right. Now, Mr. Wofford, let me explain to you something, sir. While there is no equitable distribution or community property involved in people living together, when people choose stupidly to live together for 7 years or 5 years without benefit of marriage, I'm going to take the easiest way out for a court in determining who owns property. And as far as I'm concerned, this property is owned 50-50. Do you understand? You chose, for whatever reason, to put her name on the title.
I made that mistake.
You made a mistake. If you made a mistake, why should I have to suffer for it by extending this case any longer than I have to? Now, you paid $700 for the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Correct.
Very good. Now, Miss Wofford, are you driving this pickup now?
Yes, I am.
What happened to your Chevy?
It's broken. This The French
So you're driving it?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And do you drive it to work?
Yes, I do.
And I assume you want to keep it?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Then you will pay him on his counterclaim,
Okay.
$350. Your claim is dismissed. On the counterclaim, I'm awarding you $350, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Sign over the title.
What about all my stuff? What about my personal belongings that he has taken
Sign
out of
over
my
the
home?
title. Do we have a pen?
Your Honor, may I say something?
No.
Ma'am, what about the...
No. You're getting a truck, Miss Wofford, that in all probability you had nothing to do with paying for, and you're getting it at a bargain price. Do you understand?
I guess.
Do you understand? Worth at least as much as the fishing pole you say that he took. And that somebody's skis that... Did you sign it, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, Bird, would you hand that over to Miss Wofford? And then, Bird, would you do me the last favor? Sure. Would you show them out?
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This man came into my home, ripped me off. I have a restraining order about his alcoholism problems this man has had.
The whole relationship was abusive, both physically and mentally.
He's a nothing. He's a no good. He'll always be a no good.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dabrowski versus Allen. Step forward, please.
22-year-old sales rep Lena Dabrowski is suing dog breeder Teresa Allen for a refund for a pit bull puppy and related expenses. Teresa is countersuing for boarding costs and loss of profit.
Mr. Dabrowski, you claim to have purchased a puppy from the defendant, and the puppy turned out to have certain medical problems. Ms. Allen says that there was nothing wrong with the puppy. As a matter of fact, she is counterclaiming. She says that she had a great deal of expense because you returned this puppy to her. At first glance, her countersuit is nonsense, but I will allow her to at least tell me what she thinks you owe her. How did you find this breeder? What kind of a dog did you purchase and when?
It's American Pit Bull Terrier. I found her in June.
How did you find her?
On the internet. We contacted each other through email at first. I couldn't pay for what she was asking up front.
What was she asking?
The $1,000 for a puppy. And when we had a phone conversation after that, we agreed on $500 as long as whenever this dog is shown, her name comes up, kind of like a representation.
And where did you have to go to pick the puppy up?
I had to drive to Las Vegas from San Diego to pick the puppy up.
You mean there are no puppies where you live?
I'm sure there was. I thought she was a very reputable breeder.
Go ahead.
The dogs that I saw on the pictures, I really like the dogs.
Do you have a bill of sale?
Yes, I have the actual contract. Where it states actually right here, where the puppy was $500 and there was no deposit right next to it.
Well, let me just take a look at the contract. You picked up this puppy on the 2nd of March?
Yes, 2nd of March.
Okay, and when did you take the puppy to the vet?
To the vet, I took it on, that's the first vet appointment was on the 6th. But I called her the next day. I noticed that one of its eye was discolored. So I called her that day.
What do you mean discolored? Tell me.
It had like a bluish grayish tint in it. As this. And you don't need the fee. So just basically here, and it talks about the eyes. Is where that is.
Under the examination report, this veterinarian indicates under the eyes there is a discharge, trouble with vision, abnormalities. Now, did you call her and let her know what the results of this examination were?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say to you?
And she said that basically I have to take it because that vet didn't know, and there's no way that that's happening with the dog. I have to take it to an ophthalmologist because.
And did you take it to an ophthalmologist?
I just end up taking it to an ophthalmologist.
Can I see the report from the
Definitely.
ophthalmologist?
This is the letter from the ophthalmologist. And in the bottom, in bold, it states exactly what's wrong with the dog and what its condition is.
So after you got this from the ophthalmologist, what did you do?
In order to avoid the shipping cost, we agreed that if I was to take it to an ophthalmologist and pay the $65 fee, her husband was going to be down in Riverside in April. I would drive up to Riverside, which would be a lot shorter for me, and just give him the dog then.
Excuse me, Your Honor. That was not the whole agreement.
Well, what was the agreement?
Well, first off, she threatened me on the phone throughout the whole conversation.
She's not finished yet. Then you'll have your turn, unless you can give me a swift. That was not our agreement. Our agreement was...
The agreement was that if I went to the show, that we would take the dog out there at the time when we went to the dog show.
So you did have an agreement that you would pick up the dog if you went out to a dog show?
If we went to the dog show, yes,
And you
ma'am.
didn't go to the dog show. Is that what you're telling me?
No, we didn't go to the dog show on that dog show.
Oh, okay. So you spent $65 for the vet.
I spent $65.
And how much did you spend to send the dog back because they didn't go to the dog show?
$138.87, and I have the receipt for that as well.
Go ahead.
And she also told me that I had to take it to get its shots, and that was another $30.95, and that already happened March 14th, and I have the receipts for that as well.
Okay, and $500 for the puppy.
Right.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Miss Allen.
Ma'am, I do have a copy of the breed standard for UKC. Mr. Browski states that the dog is not breedable and showable. Breed standard does not specify
She
that.
wanted to return the puppy.
Yes,
Let me explain something to you, Miss Allen. This puppy was in ill health. She is entitled to, under the terms of your contract, her money back.
Yes, ma'am. And I told her I would give her her money back, all but the deposit, which is non-refundable, which, when anybody ever emails me about a dog, I explain to them that there's a $200 non-refundable deposit
I have
required on
Just show me in your contract where there was a deposit.
On that one, ma'am, there's not. On
This is the only contract. Where is it? You have another contract?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see
that day.
Shh. I would like to see the other contract. Have the plaintiff write her name 3 times on this piece. I want you to look at this, and I want you to tell me whether this is your signature. This is the contract that the defendant says plaintiff signed. which indicates that there was a $200 deposit. Is that your signature?
That does not look like my signature, no.
It sure doesn't to me.
You know what? I don't do the K's and the Y's like that, no. My SKY is never like that.
It's not her signature. You wrote this yourself. Give this back to her. She wrote it herself. It's not her signature as it appears on the complaint. It's not her signature as it appears in her writing exemplar. This is her signature, 213. No deposit. Price for puppy, $500. No deposit. What are you, a Swiftie? I mean,
No,
what's
ma'am,
wrong
that's
with you?
her signature, ma'am.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's not her signature. You're a business person. You say, return the dog to me pursuant to our contract, and I'm going to send you your money back, or you can come and pick out another puppy.
And, ma'am, I did that except for the deposit, which was
There was no
non-refundable.
deposit. You're a Swiftie.
No, ma'am.
Not in the contract. Not in the contract that I see. She didn't do this contract over again.
This is the same contract. I printed out 2 copies that day, ma'am, and she
Well,
signed both of the copies in front of me.
No. One says deposit 0.
Yes, ma'am, and because I messed up on both the contracts, on the first one that she signed, ma'am, I did not put the deposit. When I print out the second one, I made sure that I did that right.
But she didn't sign her name. You did.
No, ma'am.
Or your husband did, or your friend. No. The signatures are totally different. Totally, completely different. The contract, however, does say that the return of the dog is at your expense.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yes.
So you are entitled to $500, which is the cost of your puppy, $65 that you paid for the doctor. It's another $30 to have shots, right? Because she told you to have shots.
Right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Your Honor, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Schroeder versus Weeks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Schroeder, the defendant is your daughter. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm having a little bit trouble hearing you.
Okay, I will speak louder. Your wife passed away recently,
Yes.
and it is your claim that your daughter took certain jewelry of your wife's that you would like back.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this claim is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter says that it was your wife's wish that she have this jewelry.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Weeks, was this the only property that your mother left?
She left some other family heirlooms and personal property, but nothing of significant value.
I assume that that's a box. Is that a box?
This is the watch that he claims, and the ring was my mother's.
I'd like to see both, please. Were your parents, Miss Weeks, estranged at the time of her death?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, in September of 1999, my mother was placed in an adult family home.
What was her illness?
Her diagnosis was multiple sclerosis at that time, and she was falling a lot. She was being left alone a lot, and Adult Protective Services were involved because of the fire department having to, she had one of those life call buttons, and the fire department was called to the house quite frequently to pick her up, and they felt that she was in a neglectful situation because she was not being properly cared for. And so Adult Protective Services started searching for alternative living arrangements for her.
And according to the complaint that I've read and your answer, there came a time around 1999 where you were given by your mother power of attorney.
That is correct.
Subsequently, in 2000, you were appointed her guardian.
That is correct.
Was her diagnosis ever modified from multiple sclerosis to something else?
Not officially, no.
All right. Now, what I found interesting about your answer was that in 2000 you were in fact appointed her guardian.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the court found that she was unable to take care of herself and make decisions for herself.
That is correct.
When was it that your mother told you that she wanted you to have this jewelry?
October, November of 99.
Did you take the jewelry at that time?
I did. And later, early part of 2000, she asked for me to give her back her ring because she wanted to wear it.
And she wore it until she died?
Yes, ma'am.
I do not want to get involved in, because I don't think it's necessary to estrange the two of you any further. Do you have siblings?
Yes.
How many?
I have 3 brothers and a sister.
Are you in touch with your other children, sir? Do you have any contact with your other children?
Pardon me?
Do you have any contact with your other
No, I
children? So you have no contact with any of your children?
I have, even my youngest boy got up and left at the funeral when my wife, her services were. And my daughter, to my immediate left, didn't even take the time to go to her mother's funeral.
Ms. Weeks, very briefly, can you tell me why all of the children, from your perspective, don't have contact with their father? Your parents were married for, according to this, 47 years.
Yes. My father, from the time we were small children, was very abusive towards the 5 of us children, as well as my mother. And I have the guardian ad litem report that has statements to that effect, if you would like to see that. And he was never supportive of any of our decisions or anything that we felt we wanted to do, and was very mean, has said very mean and hateful things towards my middle brother, to the point where
so it's a whole history.
Yeah, it's a very, very long and sordid history.
But Ms. Weeks, doesn't it strike you that in early 2000, your mother wanted her wedding rings back? Why do you think she wanted her wedding rings back?
She'd been married and wearing them for 40 years, and she missed wearing them. And
that's usually a symbolic thing. It
was a symbolic thing, yes.
She missed wearing them.
Yes.
I understand that you had gotten a protective order so that he didn't go to the nursing home after a certain point. At what point did he stop going to the nursing home?
In February of 2000 is when the order of protection was put into place due to his behavior when he did visit her and phone calls that he made when he called her there.
I am going to try to resolve this issue, as I think, as wisely as I can. Your mother gave you this watch in 1999.
No, the watch, Bob gave her that watch late last year. If he wants that watch back, he can have that watch back. That watch has no significant sentimental value to me whatsoever. What has value to me are my mother's things. He abandoned their home, and if I hadn't retrieved the few family heirlooms that I had retrieved from the home, they would have been in the city dump.
I'm talking about these two things, Mrs. Weeks.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I can understand probably each of the children wanting to have a memento, something
yes, ma'am,
to look at and to touch of their mothers. I can also understand from your father's perspective. Are you living alone now, sir?
I'm living, I have my own room. I'm taking care of a 90 lady that will soon be 91 years old.
But this is somebody that you care for, this is a job?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you want these wedding rings back, Mr. Schroeder.
I bought those rings for my wife 47 years ago. I gave my wife the first ring at her home at East Indiana when I was invited to supper by her mother, who has passed away. I feel I'm entitled to these rings. I paid for them since my daughter has made such terrible accusations about me, which are all unprovable. And I feel that I should have the rings and the watch back, plus other things that she took out of the home.
We're not talking about other things,
all right,
Mr. Schroeder. We're talking about the watch
and the watch. Yes, ma'am.
And the rings. Now, let me ask you this question, Mr. Schroeder.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had to make a choice between the watch and the rings as a memento, which would you want?
I want them both, Your Honor. I paid for them.
That's not the answer, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your children don't talk to you, Mr. Schroeder. There has to be a reason. And unless you want to live the rest of your life by yourself, I would suggest you do a little soul searching and figure out what that was.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Robert Schroeder says his daughter, Julie Weeks, won't return his late wife's possessions. Julie says it was her mother's wish that she have the items.
Are they of equal importance to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You feel the same way. One was a gift to your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you telling me, Mr. Schroeder, that each of these items are as important to you as the other?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question, Miss Weeks. If I were to ask you which of these items, memento from your mother, is more important to you, which would it be?
It would be her ring. I wear it every day.
Give her, Miss Weeks, the ring. Give Mr. Schroeder the watch. Mr. Schroeder, that was the wrong answer, sir. The fact that you paid for them and they were yours is not the answer.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you why, Mr. Schroeder. Children don't replace emotionally the loss of a parent, in this case, their mother. Sometimes mates replace emotionally their mate. They may never forget, but they replace emotionally. If you said to me, I want the rings back because we were married with those rings, she wore those rings for 47 years, they're part of our history, I want them, I would have given you the rings. And you have to understand that, Miss Weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
But to you, it didn't make any difference. You said to me, I paid for both. They're equally as important to me, so I want them both. Well, I knew that they weren't equally as important to your daughter, right?
That's right.
You have the watch. You have the rings. You probably never make up, I assume. Is that right?
That is correct, ma'am.
I assume so. That's very sad, but
it is sad.
You're a grown-up adult, and he probably is a lonely old man who doesn't have at this point in his life the support of his children or his grandchildren. I assume you don't see your grandchildren either.
No, I have a call regularly from Mary Ann in Florida.
Well, Mr. Schroeder, you should do a little
Mary
bit.
Ann is Julie's oldest daughter.
How old are you, sir? How old are you?
70 years old.
Well, that's not so old, Mr. Schroeder. There's still time for you to try to do something to get back into the good graces of your family. But you also have to look at yourself and say, what is it that I did over the last 45 years to my family that makes them all cut me off? Your children don't talk to you, Mr. Schroeder. There has to be a reason. And unless you want to live the rest of your life by yourself, I would suggest you do a little soul searching and figure out what that was. Thank you very much. The case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I've tried to be kind to Bob. I've tried to show him care, and every time I open up and try to be kind to the man, he is hateful towards me.
I hope that someday that I can get to a point where I can see my grandchildren.
He has made the decision about his family.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Schwab versus Spadine. Step forward, please.
Office manager Bonnie Schwab is suing travel agent Giancarlo Fadine for the cost of 2 tickets to Greece. Bonnie says she won the tickets in a raffle, and Giancarlo reneged on the prize.
Miss Schwab, you were the lucky winner of 2 tickets to Greece.
Yes, I was.
About 2 years ago.
May of 2000.
And where did you win these tickets?
At the Valley Greek Festival that they have every year in May.
Was it a raffle ticket?
It was a raffle ticket. A girl I work with, her children go to school there, and I bought tickets.
And due to circumstances, according to your complaint, you were unable to use the tickets for a while. The defendant had donated the tickets. You have a travel agency, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you want to use the airline tickets. The defendant says you waited too long. That's your defense. Is that pretty much it?
Pretty much it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Bonnie Schwab says after entering a raffle at a Greek festival, she won 2 tickets to Greece. Bonnie claims travel agent Giancarlo Fadine is trying to renege on the prize.
Do you have a copy of the stub, your contest stub, or any other literature from the contest?
I have a letter from the church stating that I won first prize in the raffle.
Okay. All right, and that was in May of 2000.
Right.
Did you schedule the trip?
We scheduled a trip. Mr. Faden gave us an itinerary when we went to see him in January.
Who's we?
My boyfriend at the time. We went to see him, and he wrote us an itinerary. We discussed with him that we would like to go to Italy. Mr. Faden said we could go to Italy instead of Greece, so he prepared an itinerary.
And this was done in January?
Of 2001.
And when were you planning to take the trip?
May of 2001. Subsequently, due to circumstances beyond my control, I was not able to go with my boyfriend. So I called Christine, Mr. Faden's wife, and asked them if I could put the trip off until October of that year. And they agreed to, of 2001, and they agreed that they would do that.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
Then what happened?
Well, then the summer passed, and then September 11th happened. I was afraid to travel, especially to Europe. Being an American, I didn't know what would happen. The airlines and the airports were crazy. So I wrote them a letter and faxed it to them in October, and I received no response. I asked them to call me.
Do you have a copy of that letter?
Yes, I do.
Okay, do you acknowledge receiving a letter from her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, we have a standard letter that we send to the organization. We donate to the Italian community, in this case the Greek community, because we specialize travel to Europe, especially Italy and Greece. And the letter pretty much states...
Well, let me take a look at the letter that you say that you send to everybody, but you didn't send it to the plaintiff.
Well, we wouldn't have, because we would have sent it to church.
No, but you,
I never saw that
just a
letter.
second. You say here that the tickets are valid for 1 year from the date of the prize drawing, and this is dated March 15th of 2000. I have no idea when this was typed, Mr. Faden, but certainly you cannot impugn the information here to the plaintiff unless it was written on the stub that, you know, grand prize, 2 tickets to Greece, trip must be taken within 1 year.
We donate the tickets to the church with the intent of creating goodwill in the community. The church is then raffling and selling the tickets and collecting the money from, in this case, Ms. Swab, and we have no responsibility on that.
You do. You have responsibility for the 2 tickets, sir. First of all, you agreed to put...
We have donated the 2 tickets to church.
No, you have donated the 2 tickets, not to St. Nicholas Church, Mr. Fade. You have donated the tickets to be used as part of a raffle. I don't see what your problem is, Mr. Faden. It would seem to be now, if you wanted to purchase 2 tickets to Greece, it would be a lot cheaper than it was 2 years ago.
Well, let me explain. After September 11, my company lost $200,000. When the lady called to postpone her trip, I wasn't even sure that I would be in business the following spring.
But you are in business.
Well, thank you. I worked very hard for it.
Good, but you are in business, so you have to give her tickets.
I would like to call my witness at a certain point, Your Honor.
To say what?
Because she really dealt with Christine's strategy most of the time.
More than happy to hear from the witness if she has something else to say.
No, I can stand. Your Honor, I don't know exactly what to say. I think I do understand that there was perhaps a miscommunication between the agency and the church and perhaps Ms. Schwab. However, when September 11th came, again, as Giancarlo has said, we really didn't know where we stood, and perhaps it's difficult for somebody who doesn't work in the travel industry to understand. There were literally envelopes, I mean loads of tickets coming back. Every phone call was a cancellation. It came so late. It came 2 years later, and I understand
well, it didn't come 2 years later. It came a year and a half later.
A year and a half
and
later.
You had already agreed to allow her to take the trip in October.
I understand that.
So
but
if
again,
you allowed her to take the trip in October, despite the fact that you really didn't have any choice, but you said, okay, you want to travel in October, and then the events of September 11th, which you acknowledge devastated your business.
Totally.
You had no time to respond to this letter that she sent.
No,
because
not
you were
really.
trying to
I
keep
was
your
too
heads
busy
above water.
Correct.
So you acknowledge that it was a tumultuous time.
Absolutely.
In your world, it was this important. This whole trip was this important as it related to the rest of the world. But bottom line is, you donated these tickets. She wants the tickets. She feels comfortable enough now that the world has calmed down enough so she's prepared to travel. And you have to furnish her the 2 coach class tickets that she won, that you donated. Just do it. That's your goodwill. Goodbye. So you were 19, you were a baby.
I was 16 when we got together.
And how old are your children?
3 and 16 months.
According to your complaint, things in the relationship went south. You had gone to bartend at a party. Mr. Kiwi came to the party. He didn't like the way you were dressed. He thought you were being flirtatious. You even went so far as to wear makeup. There was an altercation, and you left.
Yes.
Him.
Yes.
Took the children, and you went to your mother's?
Yes.
According to your complaint, he refuses to return your personal property.
Yes.
That's what the case is about. And that personal property, you're talking about your clothing?
Yes.
And your children's clothing?
Yes.
What else?
My daughter's TV and DVD player that my mom bought her for Christmas.
Your daughter, who's 3 years old, got a TV and a DVD player?
Yes.
Get over it. Now, Mr. Kiwi, let's deal with this one thing at a time, sir. Do you have her clothing?
No, I allowed her to come over on an agreement. On December 23rd, they agreed to me that I wouldn't call the police on them, that they could come over and.
What happened to her clothing?
She came and got it with her mother and stepfather.
What
and
about
all
the
of her
children's
stuff.
clothing?
She took some of it, but basically almost all of it, and left me with like a couple pairs of clothes that don't even fit them.
Did you go there with your mother?
Yes, I didn't get all of my clothes. I still had some clothes there, and I didn't take all the kids' clothes. There's still clothes in totes in the garage that fit the girls.
Well, just a second. He's their father. Who bought the clothes?
He did. My mom did. His mom did. His sister did.
Well, you can't take all the clothing.
I
You're
don't want all
supposed
the
to have-
clothes.
You took some?
Yes.
Good. So, and some he has?
Yes.
Now, your clothing?
Yes. I have a few pairs of jeans over there, some more shirts over there.
You're talking about nonsense. You're talking about little stuff. What are you suing him for? I mean, I don't get it. You were together 5 years. We're not talking about a couple of pairs of jeans, madam.
No, but they're mine. I should be able to get them.
Well, do you have her jeans?
I found one pair of jeans that was in the dirty clothes, and that's
All right,
the only reason she
so
didn't
pack
take
it up
them.
and get it over to her.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to your mother. I can't stand to deal with nonsense. You say that you loaned him $1,000 to fix his truck.
Yes.
When?
It was September 12th
What year?
of 2006.
Did she give you $1,000 to fix your truck?
No, she found a gentleman who at a bar who works on vehicles, and at first I was going to sell my Explorer to him, parted it out.
Did
but then
you
he
pay
said he could-
$1,000 to have your truck fixed?
Yes,
Okay. Now, it is your defense to that
yes.
that you had loaned her $3,000 a year before.
Well, I took out a loan for $3,000 because I was $1,000 behind on rent, so I paid $1,000 on rent, and I gave her $2,000 so their house would not be foreclosed on because they've took out like 4 mortgages on their home.
When did you give her the $2,000?
Before the Explorer was fixed.
Do you have any proof of that?
The only thing that I would have had was be like from my bank that say I paid off the loan, but unfortunately I didn't bring that because that's not paid off yet.
Okay. Tell me how it came about that you gave her the $2,000. Tell me about it.
Dora
you know, I'm a
was-
good judge of what's true
Dora
and what's
was
not.
crying, and I felt sorry for him because I thought we were family then, but I can see, I guess we're not. And I was just being nice and helping
No,
him
tell
out.
me how she came about. Did she come to you and tell
No.
you she needed the money?
No, she spoke to Dora, and Dora was telling me
Dora,
about it.
look at me. When was it that your mother
was-
fell? Look at me. I didn't finish the question yet. When did your mother fall behind in her mortgage payments?
It was back in 2005, and he did loan her $2,000, but it wasn't from a loan. It was with his 2005 income tax.
I don't care what it was from.
2006.
Your mother said it was 2006.
It was 2006.
So, how much money did you receive from him?
$2,000, and it was paid back in monthly payments of $500 a month, starting with the month of April and ended in the month of August.
Show me.
I gave it to Dora, and they paid their rent with it.
She gave me cash.
This was never brought up about the $2,000. This was prior. We'd borrowed the money from him, and I've only got 1 mortgage on my house. I don't have 4 mortgages.
Whatever, you have 4 mortgages, you have 1 mortgage. He loaned you $2,000. When?
It was in March.
March of what year?
2006.
And what month did she fix the truck? September of '06.
Yes.
And how much did you pay him back, according to you?
I paid him $500 a month for 4 months, starting in the month of April. It was originally agreed that we were going to start paying in May, the $500, but they were low on money at the time and stuff, so I started paying the money back in April. I paid him back $500 in April, $500 in May, $500 in June, and $500 in July.
Did she pay you back any of the money?
Not all of it.
How much did she pay you back?
I'm not sure. She'd give the money to Dora like she'd say, and then Dora would say that she was paying us, but I didn't see any of the money.
In what month did your mother give you the first payment of $500?
Around the 3rd of April because we didn't have our rent money.
And when did she give you the second payment?
Towards the end of May because we spent it on my daughter's 3rd birthday party.
End of May. And when did she give you the third payment?
Sometime in June, I don't know when. And the last payment, I guess sometime in July. I don't remember the exact date, but she paid us back. And that's why she made the agreement to fix the Explorer for us because we were down on money then.
Tell me how it came about that you paid this $1,000 for him.
My daughter had called me. Scott also has a Ford Escort. It had...
Just tell me, your daughter called you and what?
Their Ford Escort was broke down. Scott did not have transportation to go to work. She was upset because she didn't want him to lose his job because the Escort was broke down. I loaned him some money to help for parts on that, and then I said that I would pay for the Explorer to be fixed so that they would have 2 cars that were running, because at that time Dora was trying to find a job so she could make income also. So I loaned him the money. I have a gentleman that I work where I work.
Listen to me. You have no contract with him. If you had any contract at all, it was with your daughter.
You
know, just because they're no longer together, which is what's happened, just because they're no longer together doesn't mean that you come to court and you claim things that really aren't so.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you see your children now?
Every now and then. And when I go over there to see my kids, her mother comes out and stepfather and tries to kick my butt. So I got ex partes against...
Real people. Judge Judy. 21-year-old Dora Speicher and her mother, Brenda Waters, are suing the father of Dora's children, Leonard, to get his car fixed, the return of belongings, and pain and suffering.
Sounds to me as if he wasn't totally a bad guy. A little controlling, perhaps. You know you're a little controlling, Mr. Kiwi.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like he's a bad guy. He thought you were all family. He gave you $2,000 from his tax returns when you needed it. He didn't even ask to see the return of the money. You say you gave it to your daughter. She did whatever she wanted to do with it. She paid bills, she paid the rent, she did everything. She never showed it to him. And he was the only one working, right? So he was making a family. Just because they're no longer together and things aren't good anymore doesn't mean that you come to court over a pair of jeans that was in the laundry and fixing the truck so that your daughter would have a car and the boyfriend would have a car.
She never got the
now,
car.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. I have other things to do today. You have a counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, your counterclaim says that you don't see your children.
Yes.
That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
That's for a different court, sir.
Okay.
Are you in another court about seeing your children?
Yes.
Do you see your children now?
Every now and then, but it's a very big hassle because they will not take my children to the designated spot because it is not in writing. So since it's not in writing, they make me go to their house, and they know I cannot go over there because I have an ex parte. And when I go over there to see my kids, they call the police. Her mother comes out and stepfather and tries to kick my butt. So I got ex partes against them as well, her mother and stepfather.
What arrangement? Uncross your arms. What arrangements have you made for Mr. Kiwi to see his children? Don't look over there.
We have called
over
him, and my sister calls him at work because I can't speak to him. Calls him at work, tells him to meet my dad up the road at a store called Clyde's. He always makes an excuse that his car's broke down. He doesn't have gas. He can't get to where it is. So my dad drives to Steve's, a gas station that's closer to him, and drops off the girls.
When was the last time he saw the children?
2 weeks ago. He's supposed to get them this weekend.
And before the last visitation, when was the last time he saw the children?
2 weekends before that.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to deal with the courts about that, Mr. Kiwi. You understand that?
Yes.
I suggest that you get whatever you need in writing, get it in writing. Do you understand?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. This case is going to be resolved this way. I want you to go into the laundry, and I want you to get her pair of jeans that she left there, put it in an envelope, and mail it back to her. Do you understand?
Yes.
Other than that, the case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Why is that excused when they step out?
He has tons of guns, and he had pulled them and threatened to shoot me before.
I never threatened to kill her with no guns.
If I would do my hair and makeup, I was trying to sleep with everybody.
Well, she had never worn makeup before, ever in her life.
Told him I wasn't, but he didn't believe me.
And then she started wearing it to go to an old bar.
Steve Ramirez claims former live-in girlfriend Jennifer Flynn refuses to return his belongings. Jennifer is countersuing for money owed and for an assault.
Mr. Ramirez, you and the defendant dated and, I gather, lived together for a brief period of time. You had one child with you at the time?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she, after an argument, threw you out with your child and kept your property. The defendant says that when you left, you owed her some money, and instead of the money, you said to her, just keep my stuff. I don't want it. You know, sell it. She's also counterclaiming because she says you assaulted her. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in with Miss Flynn, Mr. Ramirez?
She moved in with me about 4 months after we met to my home that I was renting.
Was that you moved in together?
This year.
2007.
2005.
When was it?
2005.
And when did you move into the apartment that you left?
We moved in at the end of July of 2006.
And you have one child. How
Yes,
old is
ma'am.
that child?
She's 8.
And you have custody of her?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened when you left, sir.
Well, when she kicked me out, me and my daughter, she just kicked me and my daughter out.
Well, tell me about that day.
Well, we were talking, and I have an invention.
You have an invention?
Yes, ma'am, that me and my brother came up with. And Miss Flynn stated that she wanted 10% of something that doesn't exist. And I said, no, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? So that's where it started, and that upset her, like, just totally upset her. And she said, what? And I said, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? I can't.
What do you mean you don't even have? You had an invention you just told
Well,
me.
yes, ma'am, but it's just in the process now. I haven't.
Well, I assume that what she was saying is that in exchange for whatever financial contribution she was making, were you working at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were both working?
Yes.
Well, I assume she was saying that because you lived together as a couple, she wanted 10% if anything happens with this invention. And you said, no, I don't think you're entitled to that. So you're entitled to say that to her, Mr. Ramirez. If she wants 10% or 50%, then you got to get married. Then that's what the state does. The state says, well, then property becomes community property or joint property. But you're not married, she's not entitled to anything. So you're absolutely within your rights to say, I don't want to give you 10%. Is that when she threw you out?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
Get out of my house. You and your daughter can get out of my house.
And is that what you did? You left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left your things?
Yes, ma'am.
What things did you leave there?
I have a list of things, numerous things.
They better be big items, sir, because I don't get involved with saucepans and dishes.
That's just some of the things. That's not the personal belongings, like pictures and...
I'm going to cross certain things out here, Mr. Ramirez, that I think are ridiculous. Charbroiled barbecue with 2 propane tanks. Prairie dining. Did you purchase all of these things, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you purchase them while you and the defendant were living together?
No, ma'am. Prior.
You
I
had these things?
Everything on that list is prior to our relationship.
Let her take a look at this. Are any of those things that you purchased while you were living together?
Probably some DVDs and CDs.
Other than that, those are all his things, correct?
Yeah.
You have to return them to him, all of them. Do you understand?
Oh, there's no neon picture.
Okay, cross it off.
There is a neon picture, Your Honor.
Cross it off. Okay, good. Inconsequential, all of those things within 5 days, sir, you arranged to have the movers there to pick them up. Isn't that nice?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You say he owes you money, and he assaulted you. Go.
Actually, the invention, the alleged invention that he has is something that my doctor asked him to make, and I actually have a picture of it.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's why I had asked him for 10% of his
You're
alleged
entitled
invention.
to ask.
So
He's entitled to say no.
my counterclaim is what he owes me when he was not working for October, November, and December.
You were not working October, November, December?
October and November, Your Honor.
And December. Well,
just a second. Were you working in December, sir?
No, ma'am.
So you didn't contribute to the household for those 3 months?
No.
So how much money do you owe her?
I don't feel I owe her anything.
Why not?
That's the way relationships work, Your Honor.
Why, did she work all the time?
No, she doesn't work.
She doesn't work at all?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I received disability and Social Security.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have a blood condition that affects my ankles to where I get a lot of blood clots, and I'm in the hospital a lot. I get a lot of infections.
So you were supporting the household and paying the mortgage on your Social Security? You have children?
I have one child.
How old?
9. Also,
Just a second. Was your arrangement when you moved in that you would pay half the mortgage, sir?
No, ma'am.
What was your arrangement?
Just that we're going to move in together and help each other out as a relationship does.
No. How did you handle the finances, Mr. Ramirez?
Well, I was working prior, and then I just...
When you were working prior, how did you handle the finances?
We just share them.
How did it work? You came home and you all both deposited checks into a joint account?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did it work? I want to know.
I would hand her cash and to pay the bills.
How much?
It just depended on how much the bills were at the time.
Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
How much would you hand her each month?
Maybe $1,200.
Each month?
No, not each month.
Well, that's
When
what
I
I'm
could.
asking you, sir. You don't play with me, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes.
You think you're smarter than I am?
No, ma'am.
What else?
He also owes me for his vehicle insurance from May to January, which I do have invoices for.
Just a second. Why did you pay in May? He was working in May.
Because I had added him to my insurance because he couldn't get it on his own. And with the money that he was giving
No, my
me-
darling. Listen to me. In May, he was working, so he was giving you money. In May, June, July, August, he was working. He was giving you money.
Not
you
enough.
Paid who cares? That's something I'm getting involved with. So far, he owes you $1,800, period.
Okay.
What's next?
So he owes me then $120 for vehicle insurance for October, November, and December, ma'am, when he was not working.
October, November, and December. You had a car?
Yes, ma'am.
She was paying the insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And you weren't paying
Helping.
anything?
And
But-
January.
Yeah.
Just, you weren't paying anything?
Not a penny.
Okay. How much a month?
$40 a month.
Okay. So it was 3 months or 4 months?
4.
160. What's next?
The satellite dish was a household bill.
Forget it. You still have the satellite dish, no?
I still have it.
Keep going.
I'm also countersuing for the assault.
Well, let me hear about the assault.
Okay. One night I was just in my house, in my room with my friend.
When?
Approximately the 14th of January.
After he had left?
After he had left. He came back into my house. He still had a key because his stuff was there, so I didn't change the locks. I changed my alarm code. I thought that was good enough. He came in anyhow. I had my room closed. When I opened my bedroom door to see who had come in, he was already right there. And he asked me
What were you doing there?
I went to pack my daughter's things her room so I can...
Did you call her first?
No.
Why not?
I have a key.
You have no right to do that. You're not a tenant there. You hadn't paid rent. You have no right to go
Yes.
in.
When I received my first check, after I got my job, I handed her my first check.
No.
What date?
You didn't.
What date?
Like January,
No.
first week of February.
You mean after you moved out, you handed her a
Oh,
check?
no. No, Your Honor.
Baloney, Mr. Ramirez. Baloney. You had no right being there. None. So what happened?
He said, "Who's in there?" And I told him, "None of your business." He pushed the door open like this, and the door hit me in my face because I was on the other side of the door. I proceeded to push the door and tell him that he wasn't going to come in, that it was none of his business. And with his strength, he pushed me into a dresser that I had by the door, which bruised my
Why
arm.
did you do that, sir?
I did
I
not,
have
Your Honor.
pictures of my lip where the door busted my
Can
lip.
I see it, please?
And my witness was in my room. When he saw that it was just my friend Diana, he left. I told him I was calling the police. I had the police on the phone, and
Temper, temper,
I
Mr.
also
Ramirez.
have a statement from
Temper,
my-
temper, Mr. Ramirez. Ever been arrested?
Yes.
Domestic violence?
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself, sir? There's no question in my mind that you entered the house, that was a trespass, and if you assaulted her, that rises to the level of burglary. Do you understand? You should tell me, did you lose your temper?
No, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what you did. There's no question that you hurt her.
I entered the house, in intent to gather my daughter's things from her room and some of my belongings. And then she came out. She said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Get out of my house." I handed her the key, and I left.
No.
Didn't push the door open?
He
No,
didn't
Your
give me a
Honor.
key.
Didn't push the door?
No.
Didn't cut her lip?
No.
You have a police report?
No, ma'am, I didn't let the police come. So, but he was not there to get his daughter things. He called me later after he left and said, "Why did you do that? I just wanted to sit down and hang out with you and talk. I thought we could talk." And I said, "Why would you think that?"
He doesn't think that you're allowed to say no.
Well, I am saying no.
Yes.
And
I think maybe
yeah.
he gets that now. Want to step up? Tell me your last name.
Kalish?
Ms. Kalish, you were there on the evening that Mr. Ramirez came into the house?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We were in her room just watching TV, and we heard the front door open. She got up to see who entered the house, and before she got to the door, he was already standing there. She opened the door, and he pushed the door open and pushed her.
Did you say anything about calling the police?
She did call the police. I was there. She
And what
called
happened?
the police, telling them that he had came in the house without permission, but the police didn't show up.
They never showed up?
Well, she didn't want them to come over.
Why?
The calls can take an hour to 2 or 3 hours, and I didn't want to waste their time. He was already gone. I felt safe in the house, and I knew that I could just call back if he came back.
Now, what was the date that this happened?
January 14th, around there.
Why is this picture dated February 9th?
Because that's when I printed the picture, and my digital camera, once I changed the batteries, the date doesn't set. So I have a digital camera. I have the camera with me. I didn't print
Did you
the
seek
photos.
any medical treatment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You owe her $1,960. Do you understand? And you can go pick up your stuff within 5 days, the stuff that's on this list. Don't go back and bother her anymore. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Do you understand?
It's mutual.
It's finished. Over. Got it?
Mutual.
Thank you. That's all.
Rachel Maffitt is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brad Simmons, for unpaid rent and bills while they lived together. Brad claims he owes her nothing.
Ah, Bird, I really am so glad I don't use this internet thing. Miss Maffitt, you met the defendant on something called MySpace.
Yes.
Which is on the internet where people go to meet each other rather than, meeting each other for a cup of coffee or whatever. You exchange information. And you knew him for a brief period of time, and he moved in.
Yes, he asked to move in.
And it is your claim that while he was there, he paid no rent and bills. He owes you $2,000 for the time that he lived with you. Mr. Simmons says that there was never a financial agreement when he moved in. It was only when he left, unceremoniously, according to Miss Maffitt. You left her a note?
No, ma'am.
What did you do?
I packed up all my stuff while she was gone because of the fact that she was a little unstable. I didn't feel comfortable staying there. I packed all my stuff, so I headed out of there, and then I went back to the house and waited for her to come home. And then I told her face to face.
Oh, okay. Well, not as bad as I thought.
Your Honor, I do have a note.
You do have a note?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the note. When did you get the note?
When I came home and found all of his stuff gone from the house.
The note was only...
Okay. So you write this letter because you believed she was involved with a couple of other people at the same time she was involved with you. It's a very hurt letter, and you say, I can't talk to you right now. You want to communicate with me through MySpace because you're too hurt. You couldn't trust her. Okay, got it. When did you move in, Mr. Simmons?
It was sometime before Christmas. I don't know the exact date.
You remember the date?
I do not. It was probably after 3 or 4 dates, though.
Sometime in mid-December.
Yes, ma'am.
Of 06. And you moved in at her invitation?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move out?
I moved out, it was the first week of February.
So let's say
It was before Valentine's Day.
Remember when he moved out?
It was before Valentine's Day, but he was over at my house probably 5 days a week. After that, he promised that we would get back together, and
so he lived
still
with
loved
you
me.
maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
That is untrue. I did not go after.
Did anybody live with you before, Miss Maffitt?
Not in that apartment, no.
Has anybody lived with you since?
No.
So you weren't looking for somebody to share the bills with?
No, I was not.
So what money do you think he owes you for the
he owes
6
me-
weeks that he was there?
He lived there for probably 8 weeks, and
6 weeks. Keep going.
And he did say that he would pay for half of the bills. He actually asked me if he could live with me. He says that he thinks it may be the L word, and so that he wanted to come live with me because his family was unstable, and he said that his father was beating him.
That is untrue, Your Honor.
Listen to me. He left. You have no downside.
Well, I paid for all of the food. He eats probably enough for 3 people a day.
Yeah.
And he did promise me to pay $2,000 from a bonus that he was going to be getting from his new job. And every time I would go to pay bills, he would say, oh, no, it's okay, you're going to get that other money, so we can do this instead and have fun and eat out and things like that. So I did spend money on things that I normally wouldn't have if I were living alone. I work 2 jobs, and I am trying to finish school, so I'm just barely eking by.
Mr. Simmons says he was there.
He gave me $300 when he first moved in, which we promptly used on food and going out to eat.
Was it 3 or 5?
It was $500. I gave her $300 when I moved in, like she said, and then at another point, about 2 days before we broke up, we went out to eat with my uncle at Johnny's Pizza, and I gave her another $200.
Do you feel, Mr. Simmons, as if you owe her any money?
No, ma'am.
Was there ever an agreement for you to pay rent there?
No, ma'am. When I moved out, I figured the $500 I gave her, plus I maintained the upkeep of the house, and I cooked. So I feel that's...
You don't get credit for that.
I feel that the money that I gave her at the time that I was there was
You gave her $500?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your rent, by the way?
My rent is $580 a month.
He's paid you enough, Miss Maffitt.
Judge Judy, I actually have an email here stating that he was going to give me the $2,000.
Oh, then I'll see it.
I never sent an email. She did have access to my email password.
No, I did not.
Because it was saved on her computer.
Just a second.
Judge, I also have emails saying that he would lie in court, that he admitted to lying in court. He admitted to cheating on me with men.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Oh, listen, I'm not
that
interested
he
in
wasn't working
I'm
when
not
he was
interested in that.
working.
It has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. The only thing that has to do with me is whether or not you just refuse to put a period and say, made a mistake, shouldn't have invited this guy in to live with me after knowing him for just 4 dates. You have no downside. He gave you $500. He was there for 6 weeks, and I'm not sure that you wrote this thing yourself. Case is dismissed, Miss Maffitt. Put a period. It's over. Goodbye.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Jones. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Nicole Johnson is suing her neighbor, 23-year-old Sally Jones, for the cost to fix her car. Nicole claims Sally's son, 5-year-old Darian, scratched her paint job with rocks.
Miss Johnson, your complaint is that Miss Jones's son, that would be this little tyke over here, vandalized your car with some sort of an implement. You want her to pay for the damage. Miss Jones says, well, she's not sure if her son did it, and if he did it, he had an accomplice of similar age, and why aren't you suing the accomplice too? That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Miss Jones, let me ask you this question. If you believe that your son was responsible for part of the damage, you would acknowledge that and would be prepared to pay for part of the damage. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
What proof do you have that Miss Jones's son, because you didn't see it, vandalized your car?
I have a witness who says she saw him do it.
Okay. When did this happen?
July 11th at approximately 7:30, 8 a.m.
And the witness that you had would be this little girl?
Mm-hmm.
And she's 5?
Yes.
Whose child is she?
One of our other neighbors. Her name's Angela. Michaela.
Michaela, would you like to come up and talk to me?
Okay. You all right? Okay.
Hi, Michaela. Do you know who I am? You don't know? Do you know why you're here? And you don't know why you're here. Who did you come with today? Oh, I see this is going to be interesting. Do you know this little boy? Is he a friend of yours? Do you know Miss Jones? Is she a neighbor of yours? Can you talk? Can you tell me your full name? Let me hear.
Michaela.
And what's your last name, Michaela?
Michaela and Timon.
Do you want to talk to me about what happened with Miss Johnson's car? You want to tell me what happened? Okay, tell me what happened.
He spit on the car.
He spit on the car? Did you see him do that? Did you see him do anything else to the car, Michaela? What else did you see him do?
He scratched it.
What did he scratch it with?
A rock.
Did you see him with the rock in his hand? Did you have a rock in your hand? Was anybody else with him when he had the rock in his hand?
No.
But you're sure you saw him scratch the car with a rock? After you saw him scratch the car, Michaela, did you go and tell anybody? Who did you tell?
His parents.
His parents? Oh, did you tell them right away? Okay. You can go and sit down now. Thank you. So Michaela came and told you that about that?
No, ma'am.
She never came and told you about it?
No, ma'am.
Did she tell you?
I called. I assume that from the way the marks are, they're huge, just circles, scribbles, they're all at very low positions. I assumed it was a child, and I assumed that if I asked enough children, one of them would tell on the other. So I called her parents and I said, you know, later on today when the kids are home, please ask them if they saw anyone playing around Miss Nikki's car. And in the background, I could hear her say, I did, I saw Darian. And her mom said, well, will you do me a favor? Will you go outside and on Mommy's car, will you touch the spots that you saw him touching on Miss Nikki's car? And she said, okay, she's touching the hood, the driver's side door, and the passenger door on the same side as the driver's side. And she said, is that right? And I said, yeah, that's exactly where the damage is.
Tell me your name.
Darian.
Darian, I want you to come up here and sit up here and talk to me. Trouble, a handful.
Yes, thank you. I do know that.
A handful.
Okay. Tell me, Judge, okay?
Me and Michaela did it.
You and Michaela both did it? Well, tell me how that happened, Darian.
Me and Michaela had rocks.
Well, how many rocks did you have in your hand?
1.
And where did you get the rock from?
Off the ground.
And what about Michaela? Did she have a rock too?
Yeah.
So why did you decide to scratch Miss Johnson's car?
Oh, no.
Well, does your mom have a car?
Yeah, gray.
Hmm?
Gray.
She has a gray car. Darian, if you saw children scratching your mother's car, would you be angry with them? Because that's not the right thing to do, right? And your mommy would be very upset that somebody scratched her car, wouldn't she? She would be sad. Are you ever going to do that again? Because you know you can get into trouble for doing that to other people's property, right? How many marks did you make on the car? And how many marks did Michaela make on the car? So you made more marks than Michaela. Did Michaela make bigger marks than you or littler marks than you? She made smaller marks than you. Show me with your hands how big were the marks that you made on the car. Big ones. And she made little ones. Is that right? She made little ones, and show me your size. The ones you made were bigger ones. Now, when your mom asked you about Miss Johnson's car, did you tell her the truth right away?
My dad.
You told your dad the truth right away? And what did you tell him?
I scratched it.
And when did you tell your mom and your dad that Michaela was there too?
I didn't tell him. I only told my dad.
When did you tell your dad that Michaela was there too? Did you tell him right away, or did you tell him later?
Right away.
Go and step down. I have a feeling he did a little more damage than Michaela did, but my sense is that Michaela was there. Made a few little marks. Miss Johnson, I know that you don't like to believe it, but cute little Michaela scratched your car. She didn't do as much damage as this little guy did. And in his own 5-year-old way, he really told me the truth about that, because I don't know how many scratches were on the car, but clearly he said he did more than she did. And when I asked him, you saw, how big were her scratches? He said, well, they were really teeny. Mine were bigger. Well, one gets the sense that at least he's telling the truth, that there was some co-participation.
And she said that she helped him wipe them off with the spit so that he wouldn't get into trouble. That's what she told her mom.
Oh, okay.
She said, I helped, he spit all over the car, and I helped him rub them off, but they weren't coming off.
Okay. So you get it. Okay. So I think that Michaela's folks have to be responsible for some of the damage to the car.
I also have rental car receipts because they said it's going to take 4 to 5 days. So I have $182.04 because they won't do it on the weekend, not all of it, and I work about 45 minutes from home.
Okay.
So I have a rental car receipt for $182.04.
$422. That's half. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $422. Thank you. Thank you. Smart but a handful, Miss Jones.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it was 7:30 in the morning, and a 5-year-old child shouldn't be outside by itself.
Kids being kids.
The children being children wouldn't happen if children weren't or were being supervised.
No, I took responsibility for half of the car, which was the fight from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, the version that I got of the story was that only one child was involved.
And that's what I wanted to get across, that it wasn't all my responsibility. It wasn't just my child.
So, yeah, I mean, if her son wasn't the only culprit, then yeah, I imagine that's fair.
I think that
Christina Smith claims ex-boyfriend Gerald Ware Jr. owes for his share of a cruise vacation, utility bills, and a loan to retain an attorney.
Ms. Smith, you and the defendant dated for a period of time and signed a 6-month lease together in August of 2006?
That is correct.
How long had you been dating before you decided to move in with him?
I met him in March, so I was dating under 6 months.
I ask that not because it's particularly relevant, but I'm conducting my own sociological study. I want to see how quickly it is that people make this
mistake.
Right.
Yes.
In any event, your lawsuit says that you moved in August.
Yes, August 5th.
And you moved out in?
September 25th.
Right, so the living together at least saved you a bad marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. It is your claim that Mr. Ware is responsible for half of a cruise that you booked with his consent and his agreement to pay for half of the trip. It was a non-refundable amount of money. It was $2,000, $1,000 for you, $1,000 for him, which, of course, he didn't go on.
Correct.
Because the cruise was scheduled for?
October 13th. October 7th, excuse me.
Did you take anyone else with you?
No.
So you had the cabin all by yourself?
I sure did.
So let's deal with that first. You moved in August. Things started to go downhill right away. I don't have to know the why. It was not good. You were both not unhappy with the separation. Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out, but you continued to pay the rent. Your half of the rent.
I did.
Does she still continue to pay her half of the rent?
Up until December.
I think she's a princess. And you continued to live there,
Yes, I did.
all by yourself.
And my kids, when I had them for visitation, yes, I did.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So you had a great place to live. Are you still living there?
Until January 6th.
And then what happens?
I received a 30-day notice
Why?
because she didn't pay her, as it states in this letter, she didn't pay for December's rent.
Why didn't you pay?
I paid my half.
Why didn't you pay the whole thing?
Because I have a written agreement from her that says that she would pay the half as long
I mean,
as I
I'm
didn't
telling you,
have a room.
if she's paid September, October, and November, and she hasn't lived there, and you've lived there with your kids, so how old are you?
Me, 37.
Why don't you take care of your own responsibilities? Where are you going after January? They gave you a 30-day notice. Where do you intend to go?
Oh, I'll find a place. No, none in mind right now.
What do you mean you have none in mind?
Oh, I'm looking.
How much rent do you pay?
$675.
Is that the entire rent?
No.
Or just your half?
That my half.
Okay. When you moved in to that apartment, where had you been living just prior to that?
With my boss, as well as Christina.
With your boss?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a cabinet installer.
And you lived in your boss's house?
Yes, I did. As well as he's a friend as well.
Before you lived with your boss, where did you live?
I lived with my friend, me and a friend named Brian.
And when you lived with Brian, how much rent did you pay?
About $300 a month because it was just for a room.
How many children do you have?
2.
How much child support do you pay?
The child support is, my son is not legally mine. I accepted that responsibility when he was born, and after she went after his real father for child support, so they dismissed that court order, and for Bella it's $246, I think it is.
How much child support do you pay?
$246.
He doesn't pay child support.
When was the last time you paid child support, Mr. Ware?
It's been a couple years because my ex-wife put a letter in. She said that when she required me to pay child support, that I didn't see the kids regularly, so she wrote a letter to the district attorneys in Sacramento County.
That's hearsay. I just asked you a simple question. When was the last time you paid child support? You said several years ago.
Yeah.
You just told me that you used your apartment, sir, this apartment that you were living in and having half the rent paid by the plaintiff for both yourself and your children when you had them. So clearly you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But you haven't been paying child support.
No.
Is this your boss?
Yes, it is.
How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books?
On the books. I'm 1099.
And how much was your 1099 last year?
I didn't work for him last year.
Yes, he did.
That's,
Mr. Ware, he doesn't even want to stand up anymore and get involved with this, sir. Did you file tax returns last year?
no, I did not.
You just told me you lived with your boss last year before you moved in with her.
Last year.
What's your last name, sir?
McWee, ma'am.
You want to leave now?
No, ma'am.
You might want to rethink that. You get me? Good. So you're paid in cash and you don't pay taxes and you don't pay child support. You're supposed to pay your own rent.
I did. My half.
Well, you didn't pay, no, your own rent. Listen to me, Mr. 37 years old. You live in this country, you work for him, you're supposed to pay taxes like everybody else, which you don't do. You have children, 2, or maybe just 1. They come to visit you, and yet you have no fiscal responsibility for them. The rest of her lawsuit is, she says, A, she made a small loan to you for a lawyer. I'm not so interested in that, $199. But she said that you had no credit. Well, the reason you have no credit is because you allegedly have no income. So that she put all the utilities in her name. She put all the utilities in her name, left them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bill, even when she was paying her half of the rent. Sir?
I was giving her half my check. She went over to my boss's house and received money from them.
You mean after she moved out?
After she moved out?
I'm talking about after she moved out.
After she moved out, I told her she threatened to turn everything off. I told her to go ahead and turn everything off.
Oh, she should have.
So?
And she didn't.
And she didn't.
And did you turn the lights on?
I
Listen to me. Did you turn the lights on?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn the stove on?
Yes,
did you
I did.
plug in a coffee maker?
Yes, I did.
So you used the juice. When you use the juice, you have to pay for it. Did you use the telephone?
Yes, I did.
If you use the telephone, you have to pay. If you're an American citizen and you use the roads and you use the other services that the government provides, you have to pay taxes. How much were your electric bills and service bills after you moved out? I'm talking about just for him.
Yes, the dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October 20th when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied. Next.
Sure West bill was $260.14.
Is that it?
Yes, and if you're not going to do the attorney bill.
No. $552, rounding it out, Bert. Thank you. Is that right?
Yes.
No sense. Good. $552. Now, let's talk about the cruise, Mr. Ware. You told her to go ahead and book the cruise?
A cruise was planned before I met her. We had been talking about it amongst friends before she moved in, and her sister is a friend of my boss.
Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise?
No, I did not.
That's not what you said here, sir.
My boss's wife booked
That's not what you said here, sir, in your answer. Just because you broke up doesn't mean that you don't pay for half the cruise. You pay for half the cruise. What?
In order to get the cruise, you have to do double occupancy.
Don't speak to me sitting down.
Sorry, ma'am. We told them both prior to this going that if anything happened, that you have to pay double occupancy to get on this cruise in order to get all the cabins together. So I said, if something happens, you can't change it, you can't get the money back, and they were both aware of that.
You made that clear to both of them?
Correct.
Terrific. Thank you. You can sit down.
I gave Gerald every opportunity to go on that cruise.
Listen, it happens. He's got to pay for half the cruise because you're out the money. Do you understand?
No, I don't, but...
Well, it's very, very easy, sir. There's no way that you wanted to go on this cruise, and there's no way that you were going to share a cabin together. Somebody was going to go on the cruise. Now, it is my sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great. No. She would have said to you, great. You go on the cruise, and I won't. But right now, she had $2,000 invested in this cruise, and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks
to pay for,
listen to me.
Well, cash, to pay for credit card bills that were outstanding when we met.
We're not talking credit card bills, sir. We're talking about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some joy. I want to give back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Beverly Roscoe claims her husband's ex-wife, Deborah Roscoe, harasses her constantly. Deborah is accusing Beverly of harassing her.
Mrs. Roscoe, the defendant is your husband's former wife. This
Right.
is your husband, I assume?
Yes.
And these are your two stepsons?
Yes.
Your two sons?
Right.
And your two sons?
Right.
When were you divorced?
92.
And for how long did the boys live with their father?
They never have.
Never.
Until one of them was kidnapped.
My question to you is, during what times did the boys live with their father?
The youngest one has never lived with him. The oldest one went there for a Thanksgiving vacation and never came back. In,
What year?
98.
Who's the older? You went to live with your father in when, sir?
2006.
So you lived there for 8 years?
Yes.
Did you see your brother
No.
while you lived there?
No.
It is your claim, Miss Roscoe, that your husband's former wife, the first Mrs. Roscoe, I assume the first...
She's the second.
The second Mrs. Roscoe. You are the third Mrs. Roscoe.
I'm the fourth.
You're the fourth Mrs. Roscoe.
Yes.
He's got something...
You're the fifth.
Well,
elusive, but he has something.
No.
Has been harassing you.
Right. I need to clarify
Go ahead.
what they said. First of all, Sean did not live with Bob until 2006 because he moved into my house in 2004 because he had nowhere else to go.
Is that right? You were with your stepmother?
No, I stayed with friends mainly because of, I did not
I
get
didn't ask you for any other reason. Your complaint is that she harasses you.
Yes.
You want her to stop. She says
Right.
she doesn't harass you, you harass her. You want to know who's harassed?
The kids. That's true.
So, Mrs. Roscoe, the fourth Mrs. Roscoe, that would be you.
Yes.
You have 5 minutes to tell me how she's harassing you
Okay.
legally.
All right, it started in 2004 when Sean moved into my house. Bob did not live there. Sean did. He had nowhere else to go, so I let him stay with me. She found out how old I was, and it started from that point on. I have always been mistress, lot lizard, what else? All
Don't
kinds of
ask
stuff.
her.
Okay. I have emails. I have certified letters. She sent the same letter 3 times, 2 by certified mail, 1 regular mail, after she paid to get our address. This is the certified letter that she sent, and I have the email where she stated she would pay $50 to get our address again after she had contacted my ex-husband and his family members through Christmas and New Year's every year for 2 years.
I'm not interested in your ex-husband and his family. You're suing her.
Right, but she's trying to get our address. They don't give it, so she buys it. So
She got your
sent
address.
the email she would pay for
She got
it.
your address. So
Right, but
let's go.
for
What
what
is the other harassment? Let's go. Go. You had 5 minutes of moving.
All right, I'm trying. She says that the kids are not allowed to talk to their dad yet. They have an address, they have email addresses, and a phone number where they can contact him.
I haven't heard anything yet, madam, that amounts to legal harassment.
Okay.
Keep going.
Threatening to have my kids taken away from me. I live in
Just a
every
second.
day.
Just a second. Show me where she threatened to have your children taken away from you.
All right. In here, you'll see several references to where she's talked to my in-laws, my ex-in-laws, and she's surprised that they allow me to keep the kids there. She has made contact with them and tried to...
So what? Who cares?
I mean, there's no reason for her to bring me into her and Bob's business. Those are their kids. It was his support.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Miss Roscoe. There's no reason for her to get involved with you and your children and your former in-laws or anybody else. That's not legally actionable. It's just bad behavior. I'm waiting for something legally actionable. Like somebody calling you 150 times a day.
Well, we've had...
Like somebody posting things about you on the internet, defamatory statements, like somebody parking themselves outside your home with a constant surveillance of your home and police reports to follow that up.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying to
Yes,
you?
I
So
do.
far I see annoying, so far I don't see legal.
Okay, here's where she states about my kids, give it time, I may not have them at all. This has been going on for years.
Miss Roscoe, just because you say it's been going on for years doesn't mean it's been going on for years.
Okay, well, I've highlighted the majority of the parts. Right here, teach your children well for as long as you have them. It's not so much...
Just a second.
Okay.
Have you ever told the truth? You lie almost as well as your boyfriend. You can't beat
That's
him,
her
he's the best. But you come to a close second. Who wrote that?
That's her.
And then teach your children well for as long as you have them. Well, that's a good idea. Teach your children well for as long as you have them, because you won't have them forever. You could have gotten rid of me by having my son call, but that would have been too easy.
Her son was 21 years old and had known her number for years. He did not even live in my house. He lived with his girlfriend where he had a restraining order put on him.
Do you answer these messages?
I used to. I deleted that name so she wouldn't have it anymore.
So you answered her?
Sometimes, yeah, when I took all I could take. Yeah.
All
and
right,
I
so
called the
good.
police.
Okay.
And
Keep going. Your 5 minutes are almost up.
Okay. Every time Bob would send her an email about the interest on the child support that she got or anything, she would answer it to me.
So what?
Well, she has a history of harassing him and being mean and violent. This is a letter from her
Did you ever
own.
file a police report?
I tried.
What do you mean you tried? What does that mean, you tried?
Because they said it would be civil. They could not do anything criminally unless I could prove something civilly. So that's why
No, that's not true. That's a lot of baloney. They could not do something criminally unless you could prove something civilly? It's ridiculous. All right, let's hear about her harassment of you.
Okay. That would probably be the better way to start.
Go ahead.
It began between 99 and 2000. She started contacting my youngest son in Washington over the internet, and when I finally seen Beverly Joe 99 come popping up a lot of times, I finally asked my son, I says, who is this Beverly Joe? Well, that's Dad's girlfriend. And I said, no, it can't be Dad's girlfriend, because that's Dad's girlfriend. What's she want? She wants me to go to the airport, and she'll send me a ticket, and I can go to Ohio. I said, oh, no, you're not going to Ohio. I said, I lost one son that went there for a Thanksgiving and was refused to be sent home. I said, you're not going. She continued to write, and he got to the point where he got belligerent with her. So then all of a sudden, she wasn't nice to him no more. He was going to be put into the mental institute, and that started things.
You complain that she's harassed you. You have 5 minutes to tell me how.
I have blocked her name from my addresses, my emails, my IMs. She now goes under my ex-husband's IMs. She posted my social security number over the internet January 29th of 2006.
Why did you do that?
During those messages that you have right there, the way she was carrying on about how she was going to come and sit in my driveway and how she was going to stay at my ex-in-laws and stuff until she could get to me the next day and stuff. Yes, I did, just to shut her up, and it worked.
So you posted her social security number?
I called the cops. They wouldn't do anything about it. So and it wasn't
You deserve
posted.
each other.
It wasn't
You
posted.
absolutely deserve each other. Listen to me. Sounds to me like you two women deserve each other.
No, she just needs to leave my sons and I alone.
Listen to me. Madam, you have choices in this life. If what you're going to do is make a mission out of making each other's lives miserable, because somebody's got to start the text message and somebody's got to finish it. Right now, there is absolutely no reason to have any contact with each other. You have grown children. If they want to see their father, they will contact him. If they want to speak to him, they will contact you. They're big boys. So these two women have absolutely no reason to have any contact with each other. Is that right?
That's true.
Right.
Ma'am, I've got some more
Listen to me. Well, get to it, because now you have 2 minutes.
I've got some recordings I'd like you to listen to.
I am absolutely going to listen to recordings if you have them.
How did you work this? These are just a couple of the messages that come over my telephone.
You know my name. You ain't called me back within 5 minutes. I'm going to go find your little boy. And by the time I'm done with him, he will need you. But he won't be leaving Ohio for a while because he'll be in the hospital.
That was him.
That was
Yes, ma'am, that was me. Yes.
I would like to think that you're grown up enough to want to get some sort of help for your son, who you have no idea what has become in 7 years. As a matter of fact, it was he who pushed me, and I refused to have the cops take him. Nobody called the cops on him. He walked out in front of a cop car and almost got hit, and they were going to arrest him for the way he was yelling and carrying on, and I told them just to let him get his stuff and leave. Now, if you think you can grow up and act like a 50-year-old mother, you can call me back and I will explain to you what happened. If you want to sit there and listen to his little pouty story that's all full, you go right ahead. But all you and Josh are doing is bob off to a point where the only person going to pay for you two sitting there acting like idiots is Sean. So if you think you can grow up and call me back, I'll be here for a
Nothing wrong with that message.
They get back.
She stopped up. Listen to me. I didn't ask you for anything.
Okay. Wonderful mother that you portray yourself as, you would personally give it what's going on in your kid's life. But since you don't, that's fine. I will make sure he gets a ride back to Washington. You can either call me back and be mature, or I'll send him back via the Knox County Sheriff's Department. That's your choice.
Now, who's harassing who?
Just a sec. Shh. Quiet.
All I'm going to say is you better have made sure you got permission from his probation officer to take him out of the state, because she will know tomorrow that you did. You can either grow up and talk to me like a woman and quit calling Bob's cell phone like some tramp in heat, or I will file charges on you like they told me I could. And as for Sean, you're really teaching him a lot of responsibility to have him up and walk off of a job that he had for less than a month. Yeah, you're teaching him a lot, Dad.
You tired of him yet?
I haven't heard anything that's legally actionable, madam. Nothing.
No, it's just showing that who is calling who.
Listen to me. You text her. You write to her. She has.
I
listen.
go ahead and write
she had evidently, Mrs. Roscoe. She had your son at some point living in her home. This one, and there was clearly some difficulty with him in the home. I don't plan on getting into what it was because, quite frankly, I don't care. It has absolutely nothing to do with this lawsuit. All I have to tell you is people behaving badly does not create a lawsuit. Just listen to me very carefully. Mr. Wonderful over here got married 4 times. You have a short attention span, Mr. Roscoe. In any event, what the 2 wives have done is they've made their lives miserable, at least currently, with calling and writing and texting and whatever. It's time to say enough. Because these 2, whether they're good kids, whether they're not good kids, whether they're difficult, whether they're problems, right now, how old are you?
22.
And you?
20.
All grown up. It takes 2 to make an argument. 2. Right now, you have no reason to have any communication with each other. Do you speak to your sons?
I haven't since September.
That's their prerogative, sir. If for some reason they don't want to talk to you, that's it. But it has nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with their mother, because they're big boys. And if they wanted to talk to you, they would. So I don't see any reason for you to have any further contact with each other. why don't you both consent to an order that prohibits any contact whatsoever, either by mail, by telephone, by text message, by any form of communication that we know of in modern electronics?
I had reported her to her work to get her
Your
to
case
quit.
is dismissed, madam. You have no case. I mean, I ask you a question, you go back into history. I asked you, are you prepared to enter into an order that says, I will have no contact with the second Mrs. Roscoe, either in person, by mail, by telephone, telegraph, pigeon,
yes,
or whatever?
I've tried to obtain
Are you
one.
prepared to enter into such an order?
You bet you, ma'am.
Very good. I'll have somebody prepare it back there. Thank you very much. That's all.
Ryan Lapp claims his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, entered his home without permission and assaulted him. Mark does not dispute the charge.
Mr. Lapp, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in your home.
Yes, it's true.
Mr. Childress acknowledges that he came to your home. He said you became confrontational.
Not true at all. Sorry.
Not so sure about it. In any event, what I gather from his answer is, if you got a whooping, you deserved it. That'd be a fair statement, sir.
Well, I'm
Let's
disappointed.
see. Mr. Lapp, according to what I read, you and some friends were hanging out in your house. And I don't know what you were doing and hanging around in your house, whether you were drinking or smoking or doing some drugs or whatever you were doing, but you decided to make some prank calls.
Yes.
On what evening was this, sir?
I believe it was on the evening of the 14th of July.
And you made a prank call, one of those prank calls, to the defendant's home. I assume that it's this young lady who was living in your home with you at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's a married lady?
2 days.
To this gentleman here,
Yes, Your Honor.
who was then stationed in Iraq. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Ronald McCart.
What is your rank, sir?
I'm a specialist.
When did you get back from Iraq?
December 12th, ma'am.
Okay. So you called the defendant's home and you got this young lady on the phone. And what is your name?
Allison.
Now, did you know Allison?
Yeah, I did.
What had you been drinking, smoking, or snorting that night, Mr. Lapp?
No snorting or smoking anything other than cigarettes, but we were drinking gin that night.
And who was there?
It was me, my witness Andrew, and my neighbor from across the way, and my girlfriend.
What did you say to Allison when you prank called her, sir? Look at me.
There was a lot of prank phone calls being made, but I mean, I was on one of them. And what I said...
I want to know what was said when you called Allison.
I can't remember exactly, but I did say something to
You
the
don't
effect.
remember. So let's hear Allison. Allison, you remember July 14th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Who called you?
Mr. Lapp called my cell phone.
How did he have your cell phone number? Do you know?
Ryan is a previous boyfriend of mine.
Who's Ryan?
Mr. Lapp.
When did you stop seeing him?
In March.
March of '06? Mm-hmm. And when did you meet your husband? Okay, so he had your cell phone number. What did he say to you, Allison, when he called?
He said that I hope that they shoot your desert rat boyfriend in the head and that they don't find his body so he can't be buried here.
Not nice.
No, definitely not. Shouldn't have ever even been said, and that was totally unright on my part.
So, Allison, what did you do when you got that message?
I was very upset. A lot of crying.
Did you tell Mr. Childress?
Yes.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I listened to the tape.
Oh, she had it on tape.
There was 16, 17 vulgar, sexually abusive, and just derogatory phone calls over a period of an hour and a half made to the house. Very explicit, very sexually demeaning.
Why, Mr. Lapp?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even on any of those phone calls except for that one phone call where I did say what I said about her now husband.
But you gave the phone to your friends.
No,
or
I
you
didn't.
called the number.
No. Other people have her number other than me. That did not come from me. They all know her.
Did you make phone calls?
Me?
You?
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Who else is there?
Yeah. I made about 2 or 3 myself. But everybody did have her phone number that was there, and they were all using their separate phones.
I didn't ask about anybody else. I asked about you.
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 phone calls.
Stand up. Why?
We just had we just had something against her. I don't know what it was, but we just didn't really like her.
Who cares? I don't like you. I wouldn't call you and say nasty things on your cell phone.
That's fair. We just, we were drinking, and it just...
Because you were acting like idiots, and that's what happens to idiots when they drink.
Yeah.
When they drink, they don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they become confrontational.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now I'll hear from you.
After listening to this hour and a half of phone calls, I was so disappointed in Ryan. We'd invited him to our house. We've fed him. We've taken care of him. And it just really disappointed me. I couldn't imagine why he would sink so low. And then to talk about a gentleman who's not here, who's serving our country, that gives him the right to say the things that he did.
Yeah, sitting on his porch and drinking gin.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought this couldn't be the Ryan I knew.
So you went over there to see if somebody else creeped into his skin.
Well, my son-in-law lives in the same apartment that Ryan does. And we had an open door policy. They come to our house, we go to their house.
So you went over there.
I went over there and
look at me, Mr. Childress.
Wanted to see what was going on.
So what happened when you got there?
I asked Ryan, I go, do you know who I am? Because he was in bed. I saw that his girlfriend had just left.
So you went into his bedroom?
Yes, which is right next to my son-in-law's bedroom.
How did you get into the house?
The house is open.
Okay.
All
right,
like
do you remember,
Yes.
Mr. Lapp, what happened? Because you were pretty drunk that night, according to you.
Yeah, I wasn't that drunk in the morning, though.
Oh, so this
Maybe
was
a little
the morning.
hungover. This was a little hungover. Yes, when he assaulted me, it was in the morning.
Go ahead.
I woke up, actually, my girlfriend was leaving the house. Once she had left the house,
Was she there when you were making these calls,
Yes,
these
she
crank
was.
calls?
Yes, she was. She was there for part of the night, then she left and didn't come back.
Was she
later that
making
night.
any of the crank calls?
She was on some of those prank phone calls. What had happened was she had left that morning. He came in after that, and I thought somebody was coming to my bedroom. I thought it was my girlfriend returning because she forgot something.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. He locked the door behind him as he came in. Said, do you know who I am? I said, yeah. He told me to stand up. I stood up. He socked me once in the mouth. I fell to the bed. He continued to hold me down and punch me. I couldn't even move. I mean, he punched me 20, 25 times in the side of my face, in my stomach, all through my neck, my jaw. I have the hospital reports of the cervical strain and the contusions to the head and neck for about 3 weeks, which caused
Not
me
going to
be
make
able
any more prank phone calls, are you?
No. Prank phone calls are bad. Like I said, it was a stupid mistake, but I don't believe it justifies someone putting their hands on somebody.
Okay. Now your version, sir.
I asked Ryan if he knew who I was, because I know he had been drinking the night before, and I asked him what was going on. And immediately he said, I didn't say anything, and flailed his arms up. I took a defensive posture and acted accordingly. I thought he was going to attack me, the way he had been talking on the phone.
I don't buy that, Mr. Children. I don't buy that. You went into his bedroom.
That's correct.
After that, he also proceeded to go out and try to assault him. It's not like he just came in there just to beat me up.
I assume you called the police?
Yes, I called the police right after it happened.
And I
He
assume
also
the police...
threatened me not to
Shh,
do.
quiet.
Okay.
And I assume the police came, and I assume you played them the recordings?
Yes, Your Honor.
And they did nothing?
They failed to press charges against either one of us.
Correct. Do you work, Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Fry's Electronics in Sacramento.
How long have you worked for them?
I've worked there about 4 months now.
You have medical insurance?
No, I do not.
Have you paid any of these bills?
No, I have not. I don't have the funds to do so.
I have $2,099 in medical bills.
Yes.
Have any photographs of your injuries?
I did on a cell phone that's broken now, so there's no way to get those.
How many times did you hit him, Mr. Childress?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that. Way more.
Like, I was in the living room when this all happened because, like, you have, like, where I slept in the apartment, you have to walk past me to get to his room. And when he walked in there, he locked the door, and I heard a lot of, beating and screaming, him telling him to get off. But there was a lot more hits. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan. It was a lot more than 10 or 12.
Mr. Lapp, on a sympathy scale of 1 to 10, maybe you're a -1. You understand that? To me. You too. Because the pain that you can cause somebody as a result of making crank phone calls to them, and prank phone calls, especially the kind that you did with regard to this young man who was very far away from home and whose life was on the line, so that you two idiots could sit on your porch and drink gin. The things that you said about him are outrageous. And while I understand Mr. Childress's anger at you, the law doesn't give him the right to go over to your home and to assault you. There's no question that the police were so outraged at the phone calls that they winked at the assault. But quite frankly, I can't. You are responsible for his medical bills. Now, then, the only thing that I have to make a judgment about is whether you are also responsible for his pain and suffering, because his medical bills are $2,000. He wants $5,000. That he's not getting. Because there is emotional injury and there is physical injury, and you suffered physical injury as a result of this assault. Did this young lady sue you for emotional injury?
She did not.
You think that one can be as dramatic as the other?
Yeah.
Well, so the swollen face, the black and blue, whatever, suck it up. Mr. Childress is going to pay your medical bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor.
Mother, Rita Holguin, for using her Sears credit card and not repaying her. Rita is countersuing for the years that she supported Gracie.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Judge, this is number 349 on the calendar, the matter of Braun versus Holguin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
I read these papers. Let me see if I understand this. Miss Braun, you lived with the defendant for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in her home.
Yes.
You were friends or friends of one of her children. Is that right?
Yes.
How old were you when you moved into her house?
18.
And how many years did you live there?
Till April 21st of 1996.
And how old were you?
I was 20.
So you lived there for 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And did you get married? Is that why you left?
Mm-hmm.
According to your papers, there was a time when you allowed the defendant to use your Sears credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I believe on 3 occasions. And the total bill was about $500.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're suing her for.
Yes.
She's quite offended. Right?
That's right.
Tell me why.
Well, because of the fact that, you know, I opened my doors for her. You know, she was my daughter's best friend. And so I just figured, you know, and she was an 18, she was 17. I have proof because we had, at the time, we decided that she was going to live under our roof. We were going to give her medical and dental insurance to cover for her braces. I have the enrollment forms from my husband's state insurance.
So you covered her health insurance?
I covered her health insurance, her medical insurance. I paid for her homecoming prom dress that I have pictures of. You know, I didn't ask for anything in return. You know, and for her to have the audacity to come back at me for the $530-some, I did pay her back that. I did pay her in cash. I paid her. I never go without paying a debt, and I never thought that I'd have to have a receipt to carry with me to prove that I have paid her, because, you know, she would call me mother, she would call my husband dad. You know, I loved her as a daughter, and she wasn't really anything to me. And the only reason that I feel that she did this is because of the fact that her mother-in-law was upset because I wouldn't come out and give her money for the wedding expenses when she got married.
So this, you believe, is really over money for her wedding?
Exactly.
Tell me about that.
Well, when back at the time that she was getting her wedding arrangements done, we were going to be getting a settlement. My mother was run over and killed back in '95, and I was waiting for a check to come in. And at the time, I was also on disability. I've had back surgery. And I had offered to help out with the wedding expenses, you know, half of the wedding expenses.
That was very nice of you.
Yes, it was.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I loved her.
You have your own family?
Yes, I do.
You have children of your own?
Yes, I do. I have 2 children at home and a grandson and my husband.
And you volunteered to pay for part of the wedding?
Yes, I did.
And then what happened?
And then when the months went and the money wouldn't be coming in, they were getting very stressful.
What do you mean the money wouldn't be coming
in? The money that was supposed to be coming in for the settlement. And it was getting closer to the wedding. And the mother-in-law was getting very stressful. Where's the money? Where's the money? And I didn't have the money. And what little that I did have, I went ahead and altered her wedding dress. And I had paid for the cleaning. I had paid $100 towards the mariachis. Just little things like that. But never did I ever hear that they had, you know, confronted the mother, the biological mother, for any money. After everything that we've done for her, I just can't understand why she comes around and wants to sue me for $532 when it's over an amount of over $5,000 that we have here in receipts.
Let me just take a look and see, because you have a counterclaim, which you understand.
Yes.
I really can't address, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you never had an agreement with her.
Exactly.
That she was going to repay you for your kindnesses.
Yes.
You gave to her because you wanted to. In order for me to entertain your countersuit, I have to find that there was a contract, even if it was a verbal one, for you to for her to pay you, and there wasn't one.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me take a look at some of these things.
There is the orthodontist bill way at the back. It shows $1,000 paid towards her dental work.
Did she pay $1,000 towards your dental work?
Did she? No, she didn't.
Who
I
did?
have
The
copies
insurance.
right here of everything that I paid for. The contract is in my name. So I don't know what she's talking about.
Oh, did you actually pay for her orthodontia?
My husband's medical insurance paid for that, yes.
Now, when you were there for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
were you going to school?
Yes. I paid rent. I paid her $37.50 a week, which added up to $150 a month.
And what did that include?
I didn't have to pay for groceries or anything. The only thing that we had to pay for was shampoo and detergent, stuff that we used.
Okay. So for $150 a month, you covered your rent, your gas, electric, your food, and whatever other incidental expenses that they may have paid for. They took you out to dinner. When family went out to dinner, did you go with them?
Yeah.
And when the family went out to dinner and you went with them, were you asked to pay your share?
No, sometimes she
they...
would treat, sometimes we would treat. It was never like they paid for everything.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you do things for people, then that's out of the kindness of your heart. You don't have to keep a log, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
I happen to think you're pretty ungrateful.
And later today,
I don't think he thought anything wrong with the three of you living nicely together. You look like three nice people. You could live nicely together.
Yeah, the Golden Girls do it.
What? The Golden Girls do it? He's cute.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gracie Braun says her best friend's mother, Rita Holguin, used her credit card and never paid her back. Rita says she not only paid her back, but she supported her for over 2 years.
Now tell me about the Sears credit card. Why did you need her Sears credit card?
The time that I used a charge card, it was probably just something that I had to buy, and the money hadn't came in yet, the settlement, and I knew I was going to pay her back. And I specifically remember paying her back because what I do is I put it in a list of who I have to pay. And when I got my settlement, my sister here, she was there when I showed her that I was going to pay Gracie. I entered my daughter's room and I had the money in my hand. I says, Gracie, would you like for me to go pay the Sears account, or would you do it yourself? She had stated, I'll pay it later, Mom.
Your Honor, I moved out of her house while she was in Hawaii. I went back the night before, and she helped me get the rest of my stuff to take me. I don't know when she came and gave me this money, because I have statements here. She signed her own name on my card, and this one she signed my name. So I don't know if you want to look at these, but she never gave me any money.
But Ms. Braun, tell me about this wedding problem, because that's probably what precipitated this lawsuit. I can't imagine otherwise why you would, after what appears to me to be tremendous kindness by a total stranger to you, you would come into court and sue her for $500.
That wasn't even the thing. I called, I have talked to her on many occasions about this bill. I told her, I cannot afford to pay this anymore because that's not right. You know, she did do a lot of things for me out of the kindness of her heart, which I don't understand why she wants me, or why she's patting herself on the back. If you do things for people, then that's out of the kindness of your heart. You don't have to keep a log, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
We're talking about 2.5 or more years of taking care of, really, a total stranger. And there's something else here. I mean, maybe it's about this wedding business. Did you have a big wedding?
Yes, I did.
Did you expect her, was there an arrangement where you expected her to pay for part of the wedding?
I never asked her. She offered.
Offered to pay how much?
For half.
How much was the wedding?
I don't even know. My mother-in-law paid for everything. She made arrangements to pay for the whole thing. She offered to pay for half, so she started adding in, oh, let's have mariachis, let's do this, let's do that, because she was going to pay for half.
Right.
Well, 2 weeks before the wedding, she started saying, I can't pay for this, I can't pay for that, I can't pay for this. I never said anything to her about it. That was never an issue with me.
Were you angry? Was your mother-in-law angry?
No.
Then I don't understand why you're suing her.
Because it's money that she charged on my bill. I don't think that I should have to pay that.
And you say you paid her when she came back into the house?
I paid her when I got my settlement. As you can see, I have papers there where I got our check in '96. It was in March of '96 we got a check for $18,000.
How could you pay me in March when you didn't charge till the 2nd of March and the April 18th and 19th? How did you pay me?
Ms. Braun,
Anyway,
I don't understand why you're so angry with her.
It's frustrating.
Why is it frustrating?
She's saying she paid me for something she hadn't even charged yet.
No, she said she got her settlement at that time, so she knew she had
That's
the
when
money.
she paid me, in March. She
No,
hadn't even
she's-
charged anything in March until March 2nd and April 18th and 19th.
Miss Brown, I don't know why you're so angry with this lady. It's not what she said. She said she had the money because she got the settlement in March.
Then she should have paid me the money she owed me.
I'm not satisfied that she didn't pay you the money. I happen to think you're pretty ungrateful.
Yes, she is.
She says she paid you. Anybody who takes a total stranger into their house, treats her like one of their own for 2.5 years, when their own mother is not taking care of her, takes care of putting her on their insurance so that at least she has the opportunity of having her teeth fixed, so that she does have medical insurance, even if it's just another $20 a week that's taken out of this man's paycheck to ensure that you are covered by insurance. She fed you. She provided a roof over your head.
Right.
She treated you like a member of the family.
That's right.
So that means she's a pretty good person. And that means this pretty good person is telling me I paid her. I have to believe a nice person like Miss Holquin would not lie to me about paying you back. So your lawsuit's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She burned the bridge that she walked on. You know, she doesn't have a family now. You know, she has nobody.
I have a family.
Oh,
We never
yeah.
had
All
a
right.
family.
That's right.
You guys
That's
used her. Thank you that the knight in shining armor came and took you
Away. Good.
And now the next case.
Parties on Taylor versus Guillaume. Step forward, please.
50-year-old Hallie Taylor is suing 46-year-old bus driver Patricia Guillaume because of emotional distress while they both lived in the home of a former boyfriend named Lee Coleman. Patricia is countersuing for malicious prosecution.
Well, this is a very unusual complaint and countersuit. You're Lee?
Yes.
The cause of all the trouble. According to these papers, Ms. Taylor, you unfortunately became homeless.
Yes.
Lee was a friend of yours.
Yes.
At first, he said that you could sleep in your car in his driveway.
Yes.
But then said, why don't you move into the house? Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Just to be kind.
Yes.
Shortly thereafter, Lee over here extends an invitation to this young lady to also come to the house, to rent a room. Is that right?
Yes. No, that's reverse. That's reverse. That's not. Pat was already there.
This is Pat.
Right.
Lee, you want to step up here? Don't talk to me sitting.
Okay.
I like when you stand when you talk to me, so come
Okay.
on up here. She was already living there when you invited Miss Taylor to come in to the house?
Yes.
For how long?
Oh, I was still moving my things in. And when I had gotten the last of my belongings in, then he had informed me that she was going to be living there.
Bottom line is, at about the same moment, these two women came into your house.
That's not true.
Within days of each other?
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
sit down. Within days, you both found yourself living with Lee. You had no idea she was going to be there, and you had no idea she was going to be there.
Yes, I knew she was going to be there because he had already had rented her the room.
But she wasn't living there already?
No.
Okay. And the two of you didn't get along?
No.
You two?
Yes.
And you say because you didn't get along, she caused you all kinds of stress, high blood pressure, hypertension, and you wanted to pay you $5,000.
Yes.
And you are suing her for malicious prosecution.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She said another thing. If I want to F Lee, I wouldn't wait till you leave. I'll F him while you here.
Lee, having two women live in your home is not a good idea.
I don't know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 50-year-old Hallie Taylor is suing 46-year-old bus driver Patricia Guillaume because of emotional distress while they both lived in the home of a former boyfriend named Lee Coleman. Patricia is countersuing for malicious prosecution.
All right. This is not going to take very long, Miss Taylor. Tell me how she caused you stress.
From day one, Pat aggravated me. She antagonized me.
Give me an example.
There are two incidents that took place. The first incident took place in the garage. We were in the garage talking. Lee, Pat. First was Lee and Pat. And then, all of a sudden, and she said, your girlfriend. And I was standing over there by the back of his truck. And she rushed over there to me and got in my face, and she said, don't you use my bathroom. Incident number 2, she stated she wanted to have a talk face-to-face. Lee got us together with Lee present. We started talking. She did the talking first. She says, I don't like you. She said, I think you're nasty. I think you're a liar. I think you're a con woman. And I think you're not trustworthy. I said, well, Pat, I don't see how you can make all these consumptions about me. You don't know me for about 2 weeks. And then when she finished, I said, you finished saying what you have to say? So then I said what I had to say.
Well, what did you say?
I said, well, Pat, I can't help if you don't like me. But the things that you were saying about me is not true. That's not me. Okay. And before I said something else, and she said another thing. If I want to F Lee, I wouldn't wait till you leave. I'll F him while you here. And I said, well, go ahead.
That's honest.
Go ahead. I mean, you know, I care less.
Okay.
And then she walked over to me and she rushed up in my face. I mean, she was so close, I felt the breath, her warm breath from her mouth.
What'd she say?
And her left breath touching my left shoulder. And then Lee saw that the conversation wasn't going anywhere, so he stepped in between us.
So those are the 2 incidents that you're complaining about?
Yes, and each incident I went to the hospital.
Miss Taylor, those were 2 what we call conversations. Not worthy of a lawsuit. She didn't hit you. She didn't threaten you.
Oh, yes, she did.
No, not in the 2 instances you told me. Yeah, it's not a lawsuit.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right. Countersuit. What are you countersuing her for?
Well, this whole thing, it annoyed me. It annoyed me because
Miss Guillaume, this whole thing annoys me. Let me tell you something. It's late, and I'm getting annoyed.
What had happened, once I had picked up the suit, I had sued Lee, Mr. Coleman, and...
What'd you sue him for?
I wanted my money back.
You mean the money that you gave him for your apartment?
Yes, what had happened...
Did you get it?
Yes, I did.
You did? Good. Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lee, having 2 women live in your home is not a good idea.
I don't know that.
Miss Taylor, Miss Guillaume, this is not a case that belongs in court.
Okay.
Either your lawsuit or your countersuit. I think this gentleman made a very bad judgment. He was probably trying to be a good guy. I don't think he was trying to be bad. I think he was a friend of yours. He was trying to help you out. I don't think he thought anything wrong with the 3 of you living nicely together. You look like 3 nice people. You could live nicely together.
Yeah, the Golden Girls do it.
What? The Golden Girls do it? He's cute. All right. Go have a nice day. This lawsuit and the countersuit are dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was just more than I could take. You know, I
I like you.
While she's jabbing you in your back, you know.
That's not true.
Your Honor, this is case number 374 on the calendar in the matter of Fuller versus Lewaneg. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may have a seat.
Miss Fuller, you're suing the defendant because you allege that he owes you money for the year that his daughter lived with you.
That's correct.
Now, this was sort of an interesting story. You took her into your home without his permission. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell me how that came about?
She wanted to finish her last year of high school down here to play basketball.
Where is down here?
She was at Paramount at the time, but I live in Dominguez District. She ran away before her father moved to Victorville with her friend. Her father went over there, caused a big scene, had the police involved.
Because his daughter ran away?
Yes. Rashika called her mother in Arkansas and had...
Sir, you and your daughter's mother are divorced, is that right?
We were divorced, ma'am. That's right.
And your daughter was living with you?
She let me keep her for the meantime. She wants to go down.
She was, in fact, at the time that we're talking about, living with you when she
Living
ran
with
away.
me. Yes, ma'am.
Which is the daughter? That's you.
Rashika.
Now, how did you get involved with her?
Through basketball. I met Rashika when she was playing basketball with my daughter. I was the team mother for Paramount's basketball team. They didn't have a lot of support, and I went to all the girls' games. I took the
So that's how you got involved with her?
Yes.
So now we're up to a point where she ran away from her father's house.
Yes.
And somehow contacted you.
Yes.
And you said you can come and live with me.
I talked to her mother in Arkansas.
You didn't speak to her father?
No.
You called her mother?
Rashika called her mother.
Rashika called her mother, with whom she wasn't living at the time?
No.
And her mother gave you permission for her to live in your house?
I have the notarized. She came the next day. I have the authorization.
Okay. And she signed papers, her mother signed papers for her to live in your house?
Yes, and then we went to court, and the court gave me temporary guardianship.
Okay. With her mother's permission?
Yes.
But according to your papers, not with her father's permission?
No.
Father was not happy about this. Is that right, sir?
That's true.
He said he didn't know where she was.
So how long did she stay with you?
From June the 17th, 1996 until June the 22nd, 1997.
Now, according to your papers, she played you like a violin.
Yes, she did.
You didn't know that at the time.
No. I looked at that beautiful face, Your Honor, and I believed everything she told me.
Now, you believed everything, all the bad things she told you about her father, that he didn't understand her, that he was verbally abusive to her. You believed all that?
When I first met Rashika, I could see that she was unhappy. She was crying a lot. I could tell she was an unhappy child.
So, Miss Fuller, my question to you is, you interfered with a family situation. Because when she finally left your home,
yes,
she went back to her father, right?
Yes. After she graduated from high school, she went to college.
But she went back to her father.
Yes, he gave her a car and offered her money, and she left.
Whatever, she went back to her father.
Yes.
So this was a teenager in rebellion. She left her mother's house, right, to go to live with her father? Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. That's true.
How long have you been divorced from her mother?
Oh, about 15 years.
And how long had she lived with her mother?
14.
And how many years did she live with you?
About a year and a half until she met Miss Fuller.
Yes.
Rashika's mom told me that she was financially unable to care for Rashika and her sister Renisha. That's when she sent them out here. This is what her mom said.
Doesn't sound right to me. You don't send two children to their father after they've been living with you for 15 years or for 14 years Because you're financially unable to take care of them.
She said she had had an accident and was hurt and wasn't able to take care
Well,
of them.
when you met her, when she came to sign the guardianship papers,
yes.
Did she appear to be injured to you?
Maybe.
What does maybe mean?
She seemed to, like she had a head injury, maybe.
She didn't have a head injury that prevented her from signing these guardianship papers.
No.
Or from understanding that she was turning over legal custody to you of her daughter.
She told me she was unable to care for her. Her father was abusive.
All right. I assume you have at least one teenage daughter?
Yes.
Just so you know that teenage daughters can be difficult sometimes? Or yours aren't difficult?
My youngest one wasn't.
And what about the older one?
Well, they did good. All my children graduated from high school.
I didn't
never really had any problems with them.
Well, then you should be written up in Guinness Book of Records, because most women,
very lucky.
most mothers who have teenage daughters know that they're a little difficult at times.
I was very lucky.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
At the time, I felt he didn't understand, you know, but now that I see it, and I'm, you know, in college, and I see my sister going through getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
Now, I want to know why you think that this man ought to pay you anything.
Well, for child support, when the courts gave me temporary custody of Roshika, the judge sent us, Ray and Roshika and I, to go talk. We went to the IHOP in Compton. He offered me $400 a month child support. I said that was fine. Roshika and her dad left. When she came back, I asked her for the check. She was hesitant to give it to me.
What month was this?
In May.
That was a month before she left?
Yes.
Well, why are you suing for $4,200 if I believe you, that you say he agreed to pay you $400 a month, and then his daughter went back to him within a month? Why should I give you $4,200?
I had her for a year.
Right.
And when she came to play basketball...
I'm not interested in anything else. What I'm really concerned about is you took this child without her father's permission. You discussed the matter with her mother, not her father. Her mother gave you guardianship. You made no attempt, according to what you've told me, to get some child support from her mother, who was the one...
She sent me $75.
She sent you $75. You're suing him for almost $5,000. She was the one who gave you permission to take her daughter without his consent. He didn't even know where she was. Is that right, sir?
That's very true, ma'am.
Were you collecting welfare for her?
No.
Who was covering her medical insurance?
Her father paid her medical insurance. The one time I took her to the doctor, they gave me a $5 payment, and I paid that.
So she wasn't on anybody's welfare budget?
No.
Okay, sir. How much money did you give her in total to take care of your daughter after you knew where she was?
Well, I tried to negotiate with her because I saw my daughter in good, condition.
When was that? What month was that?
In May, right after the court hearing. We went to IHOP, and I offered, look, I can only give you $200 a month in front of her, because as far as I know, she was with her mom.
You mean before that you thought she had been with her mother?
Uh-huh.
And then you went to court.
I went to court.
This was in May of '97.
Yes, ma'am, May of '97.
And in May of '97, you went to IHOP and had this discussion about support. And how much money did you give her in May?
I didn't give her anything. I offered her $200. And
right.
I thought she agreed, so I went to the bank with her, gave her the $200.
Did you give?
I explained it to her. I cannot afford $400 because I just moved out. I got 2 young kids now of my own from my new marriage. And she's not in my budget because I know she's gone.
Okay.
Gone back to her mom.
Step up here. You're the daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go back to your father's house?
After we had, in court, we all went out to breakfast, and we cried. Sorry.
It's okay. You were ready to go home?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I had seen my little sister and my little brother, and I wanted to, and my father, we talked things out, and I wanted a relationship with him again.
You think that part of the problems that you were having with your dad that caused you to leave were at least in part your fault?
When I was with my mom, I never got disciplined. So when he disciplined me, I rebelled.
When you say he disciplined you?
Grounded me.
Grounded you?
Took my car away.
And your mom never did those things?
No.
That wasn't wrong of him to do, right?
No. Well, at the time, I felt...
You thought it was?
He was just all against me, and he didn't understand, you know, and... But now that I see it, and I'm, you know, in college, and I see my sister going through getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Miss Fuller, let me tell you what you did, madam. You interfered in a family situation. You had no business interfering with this family situation. Took it upon yourself to take this man's daughter, who was living with him, and he seems like a perfectly reasonable, responsible man, and according to his daughter, did absolutely nothing but discipline him in reasonable ways. Grounded her, took away her car, and she wasn't used to it because her mother never did any of those things. Now, the fact that she, to you, was upset and crying and seemed unhappy with her father, that's not a reason for you to interfere in a family situation. I mean, if you took some time and if you let the situation take some time, there is a possibility that father and daughter could have worked things out. But instead, you hopped in there.
Your Honor?
Yes.
When Rashika called me, she told me her father did not have custody of her. Her mother had custody of her.
Miss Fuller, you knew she was living with her father?
Yes. We went to go get Rashika. Her mother and I went to go get Rashika. We took the Southgate police with us because Rashika and her mother said they were afraid for us to go there by themselves because he's a violent man and he had a lot of guns in the home.
Well, listen to me.
We took the Southgate police with us.
Listen to me. That was all a lot of baloney. She's back with her father. So whatever stories you got from either Rashika or her mother were not true, because if they were, and if she was genuinely fearful of her father because he has a violent temper and because he has guns in the house, she would not be living with him now.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today...
So you gotta learn to get your story straight. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said yes, you was gonna pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
You butted in, and if you butted in, you gotta pay. So your lawsuit against this man is dismissed. And I suggest to you that before you take in any other teenagers and take them away from their custodial parents, and he was at that time the custodial parents, you better make darn sure that there is a good and valid reason. And that sometimes means leaving it up to professionals and stepping back. You're a biological stranger from this family. He didn't give his consent. He had absolutely no reason to have his child removed from his custody, other than the fact that, according to her, and I believe her, he disciplined her by grounding her when she did something wrong and by taking her car away. He's her father. He has an absolute right to do that. So your lawsuit against him is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She took it upon herself. I told her again and again, this is blood related. You're nobody.
You hadn't seen her
I'm
for
the father.
11 months. once, Ray.
Of course I never saw her because you
didn't.
hid her from me.
No, I didn't.
And now the next case.
Party's on Sanders versus Murray. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Heather Sanders wants her former good friend, 25-year-old Jennifer Murray, to pay her back for the repairs on her car.
You two were good friends?
Yes.
How long had you been friends?
For about 2 years, 2.5 years.
And Miss Murray, you had an accident with your car?
Yes.
What kind of an accident did you have?
A repair problem. The car broke down and it needed some repairs.
So you asked the plaintiff if she would put it on her credit card?
Well, actually, I told her that the car broke down and she said that she could help me out, and then I agreed.
Doesn't sound 100% logical, but let's take it from there. So she put it on her credit card, the repairs,
Yes.
$627, something like that?
About, yeah, $646.
And what was the arrangement as far as paying back this money?
The arrangement was that she was going to pay me half within 2 weeks after the day that it was charged, and then the balance within another 2 weeks, so altogether within a month.
What happened?
I never got any of the money back. Well, I got $100. What happened was a month went by, and she said, well, I have over half of the money, and I'll give you over the half on Wednesday, October the 1st. So I went to her house that day to pick up the money, and she gave me a $100 bill, and she said, well, I don't have any more of the money, and I will pay you back when I can. Stop calling me, stop bugging me. And basically, that was it.
Go ahead.
That's pretty much what happened. She said that I told her that I would pay her back all the money, and I made arrangements to pay her back a couple of weeks when I got paid. But something happened with my check where I didn't get paid right away like I was supposed to, and I told her that they messed my money up or something. And she said that didn't matter. She wanted her money right then and there. I said, well, my job messed up my check. I don't have it, so I'm going to have to wait another 2 weeks until I get paid.
So why didn't you give it to her after another 2 weeks?
That's when I gave her the $100. I gave her what I could. I didn't have the full amount right away.
Well, what was your arrangement with her?
To originally pay her back after a couple of weeks, but when...
That's not what you said in your answer. Did you forget what you wrote in your answer?
No, she said pay her back whatever I can, but whatever I can, just as long as I pay her back the money.
You know, you keep changing your story, Miss Murray. But bottom line is, you owe her the rest of the money. Total bill was what? $676.14. Is that the bill?
Yes.
Is that the bill?
Yes.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I'm just going to remind you, Miss Murray, that you swore in your answer that the agreement was that you put it on the credit card and you would repay back small amounts, small payments, just as long as the statement was covered for the month. And that the reason you didn't pay her back all the money is because then she said she wanted it all back at one time. So you got to learn to get your story straight.
That is what happened.
Well,
That's
you
the
didn't tell
very-
me that before. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said, yes, she was going to pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together. Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $576.14. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She started off nice, and then she got irate, and then she started banging on my front door, and then she started making threatening comments and stuff, and she turned to a different person. She has an evil side to her, like she'll snap, like, I don't know, just weird stuff. Not friendship stuff.
There was no real friendship to begin with if money can come through. Money can come between it.
Her car.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Miss. Judge, this is case number 429 on the calendar in the matter of DeVargas versus Latham. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
I assume from your complaint that you had a 3.5-year sort of live-in relationship where you were together. Is that right?
About a year and a half, actually. We had a long-distance relationship for 10 months before that, and then lived together for almost about 2 years.
Okay. And now you are no longer together. You say he owes you money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take these things one item at a time, because that's a more organized way of doing business. Damage to my car, $477.18.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that come about?
I can show you this.
No, tell me.
Okay. I guess I was out of town, and we have a we had a driveway in which my car was parked at the top. I guess either he was on a job or I'm not sure exactly
I
what.
backed into her car.
And
you backed into a car?
Yeah, basically backed into the car and damaged the back end.
Okay. Did you have it fixed right away?
No.
Why?
Because I was trying to get the money from Aaron.
Well, how long did you live together afterwards, after this damage to the car?
Probably another 6 months, maybe.
Now, you can't tell me that during that 6-month period you were trying to get the money from him to fix it.
Yes.
No.
What do you mean, yes?
Yes, I had asked him to please pay for the damages. I was still able to drive my car, considering the damage was in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's damage that, yes, is kind of expensive, but it's not something that...
It's cosmetic.
It's cosmetic, basically. It's a
So how
dent.
much after you broke up did you decide to fix the car?
I didn't fix the car. It's still dented.
Gym membership, $713.12. And this is for a gym membership that you shared and I paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
We had decided to get a gym membership at Bally's together. I had put it through my bank. So what happens is every month they would take the funds out of my bank account. Of course, when we broke up, the funds were still coming out of my bank account, and I ended up paying off $1,400, half of which is $713.12.
How long did you use the gym membership after you split up?
I went a few times myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never used the membership, and just when we did it, it was a better deal for us both to do it. And
well, what was the difference? Do you know?
Oh.
Between a single membership and a double membership?
No.
Mm-mm. I don't know. And it was something I used it once when we first got it.
Well, the question is, sir, did you obligate her to pay this gym membership because you intended to use it?
I didn't. It was something she wanted to do. You know, she wanted the membership. And
so you just went along for the ride?
well, I thought there was, you know, as far as the cost of it, I thought it was something we would both cover over.
So did you pay for any of it?
Oh yeah.
How much did you pay?
I never kept exact track, but probably, you know, over the period of a year, probably $200-300.
And how did you make those payments to her?
Just gave her money here and there.
For the gym?
Well, I gave her money for mini bills at.
For the gym?
No, not specifically for the gym. Not that I can think. All the payments I had given her were larger sums that were.
For what?
For, you know, utility bills and gym payments and things like that. So, all in one payment, every month.
Well, let me see. No. Checks for these large sums of money. You return checks for large sums of money.
I'm basically just pinpointing these items as what I'm suing for. Those canceled checks have nothing to do with these items.
What do they have to do with?
They have to do with other items that...
I disagree with that. Those canceled checks go to a list here that Vanessa had faxed me that I can show the judge also. And those canceled checks correspond with those payments on that and with this, actually. I'd gone down that list and marked off what I felt were fair and reasonable things that she should be paid back for. And on the second sheet...
Well, how much, sir, do you think is fair and reasonable for her to be paid back?
Yeah. Well, on the about.
No, is it not a number?
Sorry.
Give me a number.
About $2,800.
And how much have you paid her?
$2,800.
You've paid her $2,800.
Yes.
Does that cover the gym?
Specifically, no, it doesn't cover the gym specifically.
All right. Does that cover the damage to her car?
No, because I've never gotten a total on that.
Can I see the estimate for the damage on your car, please?
Okay.
Just give me the estimate, not a tone. You have a deductible on your insurance?
Yes.
What's your deductible?
I think it's $500.
What do you mean you think?
I'm not sure.
Well, how can I do this if I don't know what your deductible is?
I'm pretty sure it's $500, but I'm not sure.
I still don't understand why it took you so long to even think about fixing the car. Let me see the dent to the back of the car.
It's on the back of that picture. It was something that could have waited. It wasn't something that...
It sure can. It's just like a little kiss.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had called him, I had paged him. He wouldn't return my pages.
That always happens when somebody owes you money.
Yes.
Especially when the luster of love has worn off.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And later today,
Kids do that when they're in elementary school. They go around and tear each other's posters off.
understand that.
You understand that? You're supposed
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
more adult as you get older.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. After Vanessa DeVargas and Aaron Latham broke up, she says he refused to pay his share of bills and damaged her car.
All right, let's go to the next thing then. Next thing is a credit card that I started for him in my name, $455.09. What's this credit card, sir? Do you know?
Yeah, and I have also paid her back for that.
You have?
Yeah, in that $2,800.
Well, did you use that credit card at all?
No.
Do you have the last statement from the credit card?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
I made several payments. I didn't make one lump sum. But that was the last payment in which I paid off the credit card.
This says that there was a previous balance of $37. How am I supposed to tell whose expenses these are?
In the checks there and in the breakdown of what she says I owed her versus what I've paid her, it kind of shows that it's, I know it's kind of complicated, but...
It is very complicated. I wish you young people who decide to set up housekeeping didn't exchange credit cards. Really very stupid.
I agree.
Never do it again.
Yeah. That's what everybody says. You don't have checks here, sir.
I'm sorry?
You showed me these bills, sir, these checks that you say should total $2,800. They don't even total $1,000.
I don't believe I have all $2,800 worth of checks here because I didn't start to get my checks sent back to me until after this started. I just have to go by what she deducted off the balance. And it shows payments. She dated them on her.
How much did you receive from him in total?
I don't know.
Listen, I can't figure this whole thing out. Nobody can figure this whole thing out. Probably even not an accountant can figure this whole thing out. One thing I do know for sure is that you owe her half of the gym membership. Now, the entire membership was $1,400 and change, so you owe her $700 for the gym membership. That I know for sure. Madam, I'm allowing you $300 for the repair of your car.
Okay, thank you.
Fix this little
Can I also
ting
add...
in the back of the car. And I'm giving you $700 for the gym payment because I think that you obligated yourself to pay for this gym. The fact that he didn't use it, that's his problem. He was there, he thought it was a good deal, he's got to pay for part of it, and he can't establish to my satisfaction that he's ever paid any part of that. You wanted to say something else?
I wanted to add that I had tried to, after I had broken up with Aaron and had moved out, I had tried numerous times to make arrangements to meet with him. I had called him, I had paged him. He wouldn't return my pages. One time, I had to pretend that I was somebody else so that he would call me back, and he did. So this is why this has gone on for so long, because I have never been able to reach him or find him or get him to call me back. And because of this...
That always happens when somebody owes you
yeah,
money.
Yes.
Especially when the luster of love has worn off.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I sort of
So-
like that word,
I like
luster
that.
of love.
I'll write that down.
So,
So that is why this has been drawn out for so long, and I
Mr.
took it
Vargas,
to court.
put a period. Move on with it.
Okay.
I'm giving her a judgment for $1,000. Fix the dinghy on your car. Help you pay for the gym membership that you probably paid off. Do me a favor, you get another boyfriend? Keep your credit cards under lock and key.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
All right. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here's your paperwork.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Buffa versus Paz Martinez. Step forward, please.
40-year-old student Charles Buffer says fellow student Karen Paz, 25, tore down his campaign posters at Los Angeles City College and ruined his chances of becoming student vice president.
Which one of you is Miss Martinez?
I am.
Mr. Buffer, you were running for the office of vice president, according to your papers, of a school organization, and Miss Martinez was your adversary.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was this college?
Yes, Your Honor.
Which school?
LACC, LA City College. Yes, Your Honor.
And according to your complaint, Miss Martinez and/or Miss Paz took down 6 of your posters.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you are suing them for $72, which was the cost of the posters, and you also lost the election.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. How do you know that they took down the posters?
Okay, Your Honor, first of all, number one is that I found the poster. Let me bring this up to you. I found the poster in the location of where this lady was. Number two is they admitted it to me the next day.
All right, tell me about the admission.
And I, with the election chair commission lady who's here with me today, will testify that they admitted that she tore down the posters. She
Who tore down the posters?
Miss Karen Paz over here.
Did you tear down the posters?
No, not all.
Not all?
No.
Did you take down some?
2.
You took down some?
2, yeah.
Why?
That was my mistake.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
Also, too, I'd like to bring up, too, that she also signed an affidavit saying she did do this, okay?
Well, let me see the affidavit.
Okay, I'd have to come up to you or have him bring it to you. You see, Your Honor, it isn't about money here. It's about principle. You destroyed something to me in hopes of not getting me elected to try to hamper me from getting elected is what this girl did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I plan on pursuing something honest where you don't have to use deceit and trickery to win an election. By tearing up stuff, that is not right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 40-year-old student Charles Buffa says fellow student Karen Paz, 25, tore down his campaign posters at Los Angeles City College and ruined his chances of becoming student vice president.
Well, why are you suing Miss Martinez?
Because Miss Martinez was the one that I was running against, Your Honor.
But why are you suing her?
And because when we went in that day and confronted her with the election committee lady.
Confronted whom?
Well, we confronted Miss Paz in the office, okay? She admitted that, well, she said, well, she told me to do it, and then you yelled at me and said, well, they weren't stamped. So that gave you the authority and the orders to give her to tear up my posters because you wanted so bad to get elected, Your Honor. That's what happened. And that day, she admitted it to me and to the other lady sitting here on her orders that that's why that was done.
Who admitted it? Miss Martinez?
Miss Paz.
I'm not talking about Miss Paz. Miss Paz has already admitted she took down a couple of posters.
And then when I said...
I'm talking about Miss Martinez.
Yeah, yes,
She's guilty.
Yes, Your Honor. Then when I said to Miss Martinez, I said, well, why did you tell her to do that? Well, Mr. Buffett, your posters aren't stamped. I don't blankly give a damn.
Miss Martinez, did you say to Mr. Buffett your posters aren't stamped?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Put that down,
Okay.
sir. I don't need visual aids. Pass visual aids. Stop getting so excited, sir. This is
I know.
not an election for state senator or president of the United
I
States.
agree.
I know that you're emotional.
Well, you know, it's the principle.
I know, it's principle. I know. Kids do that when they're in elementary school. They go around and tear each other's posters off.
understand that.
You understand that? You're supposed
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
more adult as you get older.
That's correct.
Miss Martinez,
Yes, ma'am.
did you ever tell Miss
No.
Paz to take down his posters because they weren't stamped?
No, Your Honor. There's no reason why I should do it.
Okay. Do you have information with regard to that?
Yes, I do,
Step
Your
up here
Honor.
and tell me who you are.
My name is Felice Dooley, and I was chairperson of the election.
Did you ever speak to Miss Martinez with regard to these posters?
Yes, I did. I spoke with Ms. Martinez, and Ms. Paz confronted them. I asked Ms. Paz if she took down the posters, and she admitted she took down the posters. And after words of exchange, explicitives that she shouted at me or what have you, she was extremely belligerent.
You're not following me. I asked you a direct question. My direct question to you was, what information do you have that Miss Martinez had a conspiracy with Miss Paz to take down these posters? She's guilty. I tell you what, to make it easier, you sit down.
Ms. Martinez told me that she was aware that Karen Paz took down the posters.
Being aware doesn't make her guilty in the eyes of the law.
No, she did not tell me that she directed Ms. Paz
to take them down.
Take them down.
Do you have
Oh, go ahead.
any, Mr. Buffer?
Yes.
How old are you, by the way, sir?
Too old.
No, I'm too old. How old are you?
40.
Okay.
I'd say I tell you I was 21, but I know you won't believe it.
I certainly wouldn't. I tell people I'm 21 all the time. They don't believe me.
Your Honor, it's the thing of it is that what motive would this girl have to do it? She knew she was running against me. That's why she did it.
Mr. Buffer,
What motive do I have?
you're 40 years old, so you
Right,
should have a
correct.
certain amount of life's experience,
I
including
do.
life's experience. You also have experience watching a lot of television, being inside of courts, right?
Yeah, that's
Your
correct.
feelings are not particularly relevant. The fact that somebody had an opportunity or inclination doesn't necessarily make them guilty. You have to have proof that they're guilty before a
understand
court
that, Your Honor.
finds them guilty.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you have any proof against Miss Martinez that she either instructed or directed anyone else to remove your posters?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Well,
Your
let
Honor.
me hear it.
Okay. Well, the day we went in that day into that office, when I asked her, why did you tell her to take down the posters, her reply to me was, well, your posters weren't stamped, so I told her to take them down. She had every right to do so. That's what she said
I did
to
not
me.
tell him.
I don't believe that.
No,
Mr.
I didn't.
Buffer?
That's what you did.
Mr. Buffer,
That's correct.
listen to me.
I'm listening.
I don't believe she said that to you.
Well, she
I have
did.
no need to
No.
do it. Why would I do
No, I don't
something
believe
like
she
that?
said those words to you, sir.
That's exactly well. I say she did say that words to me.
Did she say to you, were they stamped?
No, she said your posters weren't stamped. I gave her the authority to take them down because they weren't stamped.
No, I did
and
not
that's
say
why I
that.
said they are stamped. Here they are.
I did not
No,
say that.
I don't believe that. But you are entitled to a judgment, sir. You are entitled to a judgment against the person who has been proven guilty in this court, and that is Miss Paz.
That is correct.
Well, it cost you, according to you, $72 for these posters. That's the amount of money that you're suing for. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm
I'm going to give you a judgment for that, sir, in the amount of $72 against Miss Paz.
Well, I really appreciate that, Your Honor.
That's what you have. Thank
but
you.
You
I'm
know
glad
what?
you
It's
appreciate it.
principle. That's what it is, not the money. It's
And
principle.
what is my principle?
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy
Thank you, Your Honor.
continues in a moment.
Thank you.
And on the next Judge Judy.
And I plan on pursuing something honest where you don't have to use deceit and trickery to win an election. By tearing up stuff, that is not right.
She is a friend.
Oh, a friend. I love that. A friend. I love that, you guys. That's so cool. She's a friend, so help her tear the posters down to get her election. You got to be honest. You're not going to win an election being dishonest. You're going to get caught sooner or later. And it came down on her. And that's it. She lost. And I feel good about it. I'm happy today in court. I couldn't be better.
Rise. Judge, this is case number 378 on the calendar in the matter of Stelly versus Willow. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Stelly, you and the defendant had a long relationship, I gather from your papers, and you have a 9-year-old child together, correct?
Yes.
Boy or a girl?
Boy.
According to your complaint, the defendant owes you a nice round number, about $5,000.
Yes, she does.
You want to explain why?
Yes, I've loaned Miss Wills several $1,000s for different things. Repairing her automobile, loan for a down payment on a house, a loan for a car, which I took title in collateral. Miss Wills has promised to pay me back for these loans, and she has failed to do so.
Let's take the loans specifically, sir.
Okay.
Loan number one.
Loan number one was for a transmission for a Chevy Blazer that Miss Kathy Willows owns.
And how much was that loan?
That loan was in the amount of $1332.18. Here's the check.
Okay, so let's do this one at a time. First of all, how long have you been apart? Long time?
About 5 years.
Okay, and how long did you actually live together?
About 3.
Did he give you money, $1,332.18 to fix the transmission?
He paid the repair guys to fix the transmission.
And was there an agreement that you would pay him back?
He just said that if I could.
And you were living together at the time?
You might call it that, yes.
Okay, what's this next alleged loan for, sir?
Okay, that was for $6,000 for a Pontiac Grand Am.
All right, now this was in 1994, so you were separated at the time. You were no longer living together. She acknowledges that you made a loan to her to buy this car, correct?
Correct.
Am I right?
Well, to purchase the car, yes.
What did I say?
Yeah, I said yes. I'm sorry.
Now, how much of the $6,000 did you pay him back?
Well, the first year and a half that I had the car, I was taking care of my ailing father. I was out of work, and I didn't give David any money toward the vehicle. Then a year and a half later, I finally got enough money together to move out. When I was moving, David said, "You can't take the car. That's my car." I said, "David, I need that car. I'd just gotten a job, and I needed the car." And I said, "I can pay you $50 a month." And here's a history of the payments that I made to him. For a year and a half, I made $50 a month payments.
What's the total?
I think it totaled $550.
So on a $6,000 loan, let us assume that you paid him $550. Then, Mr. Stelly, you repossessed the car.
Yes, I did. I repossessed the car because she was failing to keep a steady payment, and I felt that she should be paying me more money to pay off this loan fast, because Miss Willow has now entered into a new relationship, and I don't want to be financially responsible for her anymore.
Okay. It is clear to me that you had an
I am financially
arrangement.
responsible for my son, but I'm not going to be financially responsible for her.
Mr. Stelly, listen to me carefully, sir. $550, assuming that's what she paid you in $50 increments, and you acknowledge that she made some payments to you, right?
Yes.
But then you repossessed the car.
For lack
What
of
did
payment.
you do with the car?
What did I do with the car?
That was my question.
I have done nothing with it. I have offered the car back to Miss Willow, and she wanted to make a more reasonable payment.
No, you have the car.
I know I have the car, but I have offered the car back to Miss Willow so that she can make a more reasonable payment to me, so that she could continue to have a vehicle. I did not take this vehicle to be mean or anything. I took the vehicle so Miss Willow could sit there and see that I am not pussyfooting around anymore, that I would like to have a payment so she could be out of debt to me.
Mr. Stelly, she doesn't want the car anymore. According to her answer, she went out and she bought another car.
Yes,
is that
she
right?
did.
That's true.
So now you have the car, sir.
Yes, I do.
So what you have to do, Mr.
Okay,
Stelly,
right here is
sell the car. It's in your name.
Right here is our quotes for Kelly Blue Book on the value of the car is. I'm asking the court for the difference between the two.
Well, let me see the blue books.
Okay, there's one in here for good
I have
She
Kelly
has-
Blue Book too.
Let me take a look.
This
And
is
the
a-
car's in good to excellent condition.
Let me take a
Your
look.
Honor.
The car is in good to fair condition, Your Honor.
She's got good to excellent. Here.
I got those quotes from off the internet.
Well, you have to believe the internet, right? Okay. What year is this car?
It's an 89.
And you have the sedan?
Four-door.
Four-door sedan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. Wholesale is $28.50. Suggested retail is $5,000. Okay. Return that to her. And you have, sir, on your page is the trade-in value in good shape.
Yes, that's
Is
what
20
I consider. That's what I consider the car to be in. I have a videotape of the vehicle showing the conditions of the tires, which are basically all four of them are bald.
Sir,
it's missing a
you
muffler.
have trade...
It's missing a muffler.
Trade-in value, sir. Trade-in value is...
That's what I got off the internet, okay? Thank you. I'll be...
Your Honor?
Yeah.
I have maintenance records and repair receipts on the car to
Whatever.
show
The
that
car
I
is
took care
at
of
least
the car.
the car is at least worth $3,000.
Yes, I agree to that.
At least $3,000. And she has paid you $550. So that's $3,550, leaving $2,450 after you sell it. Right?
If I get that.
Well, how am I supposed to know, sir? I mean, you come to court. It's your responsibility
That's right. It
to
is
come.
my
It's your
responsibility. That's why I got this tape right here. This shows you the condition the car
I'm not
is
interested in seeing your tape, sir. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you had sold the car and you came to court and you said, this is what I got for the car in an arm's length transaction, I put an ad in the paper, this is what I sold it for, then I would know. Right now, I am speculating because of the posture of this case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is what they're trying to sell their cars for.
I don't care. You brought me the papers. I don't care what other people are doing. How do I know you didn't put those ads in the paper?
And later today,
I tried to tell him not to eat it, and he ate it anyways. He was drunk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Stelly wants the mother of his child, Kathy Willows, to pay for a car he repossessed.
Okay. What else?
I have other loans.
Like what?
Like the down payment on a house.
This is ridiculous.
This check right here is for $15,000.
Sir,
no.
Sir, you're in the, listen to me, sir. You're in the wrong court.
No,
if she owes you $15,000, then you're in the wrong court.
She paid me back $9,000 of it.
Sir, you're in the wrong court. That's still $6,000. Go ahead, give me the next one.
You know, Your Honor, I have given this woman thousands of dollars. I have let her live in my house. Lived in my house.
With our son.
With my son.
No.
And her son. Okay.
What else?
These are two clips out of the auto section that people are trying to sell their Pontiac Grand Ams, and this is what they're trying to sell their cars for.
I don't care. You brought me the papers. You brought me the papers. You brought me the papers. I don't care what other people are doing. How do I know you didn't put those ads in the paper? You brought me the papers. I'm using your figures.
Okay.
Fair condition.
Why don't we get your paper?
I'm using your paper, sir. The papers that you gave me.
Yeah, okay, from off the internet.
I couldn't live with you 2 minutes. Anything else you want to tell me?
I just want the money that this woman has promised to repay me.
Let me explain something to you, sir. From me, against her, you are going to be awarded $2,450. She has already given you $550. Now, you are going to sell the car, and based upon your figures, you're going to get $3,000 for the car. I mean, am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything. Okay, you're saying I can and probably will sell the car for $3,000.
You want me to dismiss your lawsuit, Mr. Stelly,
No.
and wait until after you sell the car and then you come back and tell me what you sold the car for? I can do that. I can dismiss your case without prejudice. You can leave.
No,
Go out and sell the car and then come back. Is that what you'd like me to do?
No.
Be more than happy to do that.
No, I would like to get this thing settled so we close this chapter of our lives.
Good. So then I'm awarding you, sir, $2,450.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Party's on Milner versus Dutter. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Flora Milner is suing her former landlord, Francis Dutter, 44, for return of personal belongings. Ms. Dutter says Flora will get them back when she reimburses her for utility bills and a dead fish.
Ms. Milner, according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant in her home. And you moved into her home with your baby, who was 18 months old. Is that right?
Yes.
And that lasted only several months. You moved out. She kept some of your things. You want your things back.
That's right.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
She says that you owe her money and that when you pay her the money, you can get your things back. Is that this case?
Correct.
Ms. Milner, what month did you move into the house?
December.
And what was the rent arrangement?
We had a verbal agreement of $250 plus I'd pay my phone bill.
Is that right?
Correct.
And you had no written lease?
No. No.
And you lived in the house until, according to this, the month of June.
That's right.
Something happened in the month just prior to that. You wanted to move out. Did you pay your rent for the month of June?
I did.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you moved out before July 1st?
That's correct.
Now, she's not suing for anything other than her property back.
That's right.
And you say you have her property.
Correct.
So you tell me, what money do you say she owes you?
She owes me for 2 months that she had her stuff in the room, storage fees.
Just a second. Wait a second. Hold on. Hold on a second. Say she owes you $500 for July and August rent.
Correct.
Well, she wasn't living there in July and August.
Correct.
So why does she owe you for July and August rent?
She gave me no notice. We had made an agreement, at least give me 2 months, at least give me a month's notice. I gave her 2 months to please, you know, if that, to be out by that time, but give me notice of some kind because I rented the room to her.
She's not required to give you any notice, madam. You don't have a rental agreement with her. She doesn't have to give you any notice. She paid her rent through June. So let's get rid of July and August rent.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was a goldfish that he ate.
How big a goldfish?
It was yay big.
A big goldfish.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Flora Milner says former landlord Francis Dutter won't return her personal belongings. Francis says Flora still owes her money for bills and a dead fish.
Now, phone bills, June and July.
Correct.
She wasn't there in July.
She didn't pay me for July.
She wasn't there in July. How could you have a phone bill for July?
It carries on through.
Well, I want to know what her June phone bill was.
And it runs anywhere from $20 to $25 a month.
How much do you owe for the phone?
It was $14 for 2 months that I owed her when I had moved out.
And let's say you owed her another $20 that she got in her next month's bill. That's $34. Now, the electrical connection fee, water deposit from when she moved in, what is that?
We pay the first time turn-on fee, and then I saw paid the water to be turned on plus an extra $15 to be turned on the next day.
You say here that you had to put down the deposit for the gas and electric when you moved into the house because there was no gas and electric in the house for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Not the gas, just the light and the water.
The light and the
I
water.
put the deposits down. I have the statement from them.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, you may.
So if I gather correctly, you are suing her for the cost of reconnecting when she canceled the accounts, when she moved out. Am I correct?
Yes.
Well, you can't get that. So far, what she owes you is $34. Okay, and this says you have a $40 credit. All right. And when the bill was closed, there is now a credit of 40 cents, which means that there were $40 taken out for utilities. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, that's what this clearly says, from light and water. All right. So now let's get to this reimbursement for a dead fish. What's that about?
Well, when I was out of town, I drove over to Colorado with my daughter, and I asked Flora, please do not have a party at my house. And then when I was over there, she had called me and said that a fish had died. So I took it as the cat got the fish. She told me a cat got the fish. Well, 2 or 3 weeks later after that, she had admitted to my son that because his friends were saying, people were saying, hey, you had a really good party while you were at Camp Pendleton, because he's a Marine there at MP. And he goes, what are you talking about? Well, Flora threw a big party, and the kids were intoxicated, and one of them bit the head off of a live fish.
Did that happen?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And this was when you had a party there?
I had about 15 people there.
And somebody acted like an idiot?
Yeah.
One of your friends?
No, it was her son's friend.
Her son's friend?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was her son's friend, Kenny.
How old is her son?
Her son's 19.
And how old is this Kenny?
19.
So Kenny was the one who bit the fish?
Yes, he did.
In half? Do you know Kenny's last name?
No, I do not.
Do you know Kenny's
No, I
last
don't.
name? Ask your son.
Okay.
Good. Now, so what I have is that she owes you $34 for a phone bill. And based upon what I saw from the power company, you probably owe her for a power and light bill that she paid, that she was not supposed to pay, that was taken out of her $40 deposit. So that comes out to about a wash. Therefore, I don't believe that there was any reason for you to retain her property, and you have to return it. She doesn't have to pay you for July and August. Your son's friend bit the head off a fish.
He should have never been invited.
Well, your son is over 18, is he not? Your son is over 18, is he
Ma'am,
not?
she should have never had that party there.
That may be correct.
So I feel it's her responsibility, because she allowed them to come into my home when I was out of town.
Was your son living there?
Ma'am, he was at Camp Pendleton.
He was there that weekend.
No,
when
he
you were...
was not.
He was there that evening.
He was not. He was in Camp Pendleton.
Just a second. Was her son
No, her
there?
son wasn't there.
Her son wasn't there?
No, he wasn't there.
So how did Kenny get to this party?
I invited him.
Then you pay.
Okay.
For the fish.
All right.
Then you pay for the fish. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought your son was at home.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did this fish cost?
Well, it was a purchase. He had it for 4 years. It was purchased at $25. Here's the fish, and they go by the size.
No, that wasn't the fish.
Oh, that wasn't the fish.
It was a goldfish.
It was a goldfish.
There was 2 of them that had died.
There was.
Just
It was a
second.
goldfish that he ate.
How big a goldfish?
It was yay big.
A big goldfish.
And I offered her, when I went to retrieve my property, I offered her a koi fish from my dad's pond.
She's lying. She is lying.
Whatever. He bought the fish, you say, for $25. So right now she owes you $25. You have to return her property, madam.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem.
Good. And you owe her $25 for the fish.
Okay.
You got it?
All right.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It really upset me to find out what she did when I was out of town. She allowed that friend to bite off the fish's head, which is really pretty sad.
I didn't know until it was actually being eaten. So, and I tried to tell him not to eat it, and he ate it anyways. He was drunk.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir, quiet, please. Thank you. Judge, this is case number 263 on the calendar in the matter of Garay versus Romaniak. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Don't look so unhappy. It's only money. Right?
That's right.
It's only money. Well, you had an unusual arrangement with the defendant according to your complaint, and he seems to acknowledge this was your arrangement. You were dating, you became romantically involved, decided to live together. You're from the United States?
Yes.
And you're from?
Canada.
And this was the arrangement that you made, from my understanding, that while you were in the United States, where you were planning to spend half your time, you would pay. And while you were in Canada,
I would pay.
you would pay. So you spent 6 months in the States, and you paid.
That's right.
All the expenses.
Yes.
And then you moved to Canada, and you ran out of money.
I paid. I'll explain that a little later.
Okay. So tell me, how did you enter into this rather unique arrangement with funds?
Well, it was just that we were going together last year, and then in November, we got engaged in September. In November, he left, and we went together for a while, and then in April, we got back together again. And in the middle of April, he asked me, would I like to go to Canada to live with him? And, or to stay up there in Canada for the summer months, and then come back, because I worked in Palm Springs. And I said, yes. I said, but you know, how are we going to, or we worked out how we were going to pay for the money and that. And I said, well, while we're here, while we're in the United States, I will pay for everything here. So I paid for his payments on his house insurance, his electric, his gas bills, and everything.
So you were living in his house?
No, I have my own house. We both have a home in Palm Springs.
So that you were paying for your house, and you were paying for his house while he was here?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So then we left and we went to Canada. We arrived in Canada. We first went to see his daughter, and then we went to a little town called Penticton. So we started looking around and that, and we saw this one house that we thought. And we said, well, you know, God, I wish we could get it. And I said, well, look, I will put the money down, the $3,000 down. You pay the payments on it. So that was the arrangements. And then we moved in the house on June the 1st.
This house that you purchased?
The one we purchased in Penticton, Canada. Okay. And we lived in that house. The middle of July, he left me and went to see his daughter for 4 days.
Did he tell you he was leaving?
Yes, he told me the day before that he was leaving the next morning.
Had you had an argument? Had you not been
We
getting
had been
along?
bickering and arguing, and it was just like he had his children there, and I was tired and everything else. But he left and went and lived with his daughter for 4 days. When he came back, he says, that's it. The house is going on the market. He had been to the real estate office already. When he came back, I was at the neighbors. I was so upset and everything else that he had left. So I came home. I didn't know what to do. I just said, I can't live like this. The tension was so bad and everything else. So I left, and I came down back to Palm Springs. My car was in bad condition. He had supposed to fix the radiator. He didn't. I had to keep putting water in it. My air conditioning wasn't working. I had 2 blowout tires.
It was
and
a terrible
emotionally,
experience.
it was a horrible
It was
thing.
a horror.
Go ahead. When I got back, I had to go to the doctors. My friends had to take me to the doctors. My nerves were so bad, and I've been on nerve pills since. All I want is, gives me my money, I'll sign the house to him, and then I'm finished.
What money are you talking about, Ms. Garay?
$5,000.
Why
Not
don't
all
you-
the other money I've spent, the $5,000.
What's $5,000 for?
The $3,000 are for the house, the money I put down on the house. He can have the house. And also, the rest is right here, what I have paid out. On his house here, all the payments, the house, expenses that I had coming down. You know, I had to stay in a motel, gasoline,
well, Ms.
my
Garay,
car breaking down.
All those expenses you're not going to get back. You know that. You know that.
But it still comes to $4,845.20. And this is what I have paid out, Your Honor.
Well, what you've paid out is not necessarily something that he agreed to pay you back.
And this is what he has paid out. The bottom amount is American money.
All right, sir, let me hear you.
Your Honor, I don't believe what she's saying.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Last year, I took her for... Yes, ma'am.
You don't have to believe what she's saying.
Okay.
I got to believe what she's saying.
Last year, I took her for 4 months down to Canada. I paid all expenses right? I sent her a plane ticket to Winnipeg. That's 3,000 miles away from here. And we toured the whole Western Canada. I took her through the prairies to Banff, Lake Louise, ice fields, and all over.
Who paid for that?
I paid for the whole thing for 4 months, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I promise to give you the best of myself and to ask of you no more than you can give. That's her promise to me.
And later today,
The first time and the last time I've ever met her, she tried running me and my husband off the road because she was, I guess, mad that he was going to stay with me and not her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Splitting up after an 11-month romantic relationship, Jean Garay now claims John Romaniuk owes her thousands.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So what made you decide that this arrangement, this relationship, wasn't going to work when you went to your daughters?
Because when we got to Vancouver, Palm Springs, we had an argument because every day her man friend phoned for about 45 minutes on the phone while I was there. And I said I didn't like the idea that he phoning every day. So she got mad at me. She said, that's none of your business. So she said, leave the house. So I left. I didn't see her until middle of April.
When you were back in Canada, sir, you bought the house.
I'm coming to that, ma'am.
Get there.
Oh, then middle of April, somehow we got back together.
Shh. You're in the house that
Yes.
you just bought.
Yes.
You decide to go to your children. Why?
Because when my son came over to visit us, my granddaughter spilled a little bit of milk on a rug that we didn't have no furniture or anything like that. So she got mad and she said, your son doesn't know how to bring the children up.
So
and
that's when you got mad.
So I got angry. So I went to my daughter's place, because my daughter's got I have 4 grandchildren, and to spend over there. When I came back, she put the sign of her own on to sell the house. House was for sale. I said, what are you doing? And then beside that, all the payments were...
So don't tell me about payments, because let me tell you what my thinking is, sir. She put down $3,000 towards the purchase price of that house. Now, you have family in Canada. Your son lives there, your grandchildren live there, and you will be going back to Canada.
Yes.
And you love this house that you originally bought.
Yes.
So it seems to me that if you are no longer a couple...
Yes.
That this house is something that shouldn't be binding you together.
No.
Right?
For sure.
Right.
Mr. Romaniuk, what I'm saying to you, sir, is she doesn't want to know you anymore. You don't want to know her anymore.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you shouldn't have to be bothered with this business. She should be out of the real estate business in Canada, because but for you, she wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
Got it? So you, sir, are going to give her the $3,000 to get her out of the Canada business. You got it? And then if you sell the house for more, she will wish you good luck. And if you sell the house for less and you don't get the $3,000 back, so be it. And if you can rent the house and make a couple of bucks when you rent the house, terrific. And if you want to live there and retire there yourself, you can do that. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I promise to give you the best of myself and to ask of you no more than you can give. I promise to accept you the way you are. I promise to respect you. I promise to love you in good times and bad times. That's her promise to me. Now I didn't care what I spent because I loved her and I enjoyed every minute with her. That's my
He loved me, but I couldn't walk down the street and look at anybody else because I was going to bed with them all.
And now the next case.
Parties on Newdecker versus Key. Step forward, please.
29-year-old hairdresser Lisa Newdecker is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Christopher Key, 30, for money she loaned him before he met his current wife, Melissa.
Well,
I've read your papers. There are a couple of interesting little quirks in these papers that I want to find out about. But basically, Miss Newdecker, this was your boyfriend about 5 years ago.
About 6.5 actually is when I started dating him.
And some 5 years ago, you lent him some money.
Over the course of the time we dated, yes.
How did you lend him this money?
He was short of cash and needed to get miscellaneous items, and I went with him and used my credit cards.
So it was basically credit card bills?
Yes.
And how much altogether was it that he charged at that point?
It was approximately $2,600.
And when you separated, according to these papers, he made a lot of payments.
Yes.
But that he still owes you $870.37.
Approximately, yes.
When was the last time he made a payment?
On October 4th. I received the check about October 7th.
And then he stopped making payments?
Yes.
Why?
Well, in the beginning of the breakup, there was a discrepancy when she came to me with the amount of how much was owed. I didn't remember it totaling up to $2,600, and I told her at the time that I didn't remember it being $2,600, and she insisted that it was.
So when you insist that it was and you say it wasn't, did you look over all the bills?
No,
Why?
because we were separated, it wasn't a matter of me going over and sitting down with her and going over and saying this was mine, that wasn't. She said that it was, and I had figured it to be around $1,500, $1,600, and
Well,
which is a considerable difference.
So why didn't you go over there and look over the bills? That's a $1,000 discrepancy.
We weren't a couple any longer. It just
So what? You weren't a couple? It seems to me it's now more of a business transaction than anything else. You mean you just thought you'd blow it off?
No. I didn't just think I'd blow it off. It was, like I said, I didn't see it that way, and she's seeing that it did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sometimes men do really dumb things. You always get caught because women are great snoops.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 29-year-old hairdresser Lisa Newdecker is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Christopher Key, 30, for money she loaned him before he met his current wife, Melissa.
She had the papers to show you, sir, what items you purchased, I assume. Do you still have them?
Yes.
Well, take a look. 5 years later, sir, take a look.
It's a list of what all the paperwork is.
Once again, like I said, we were a couple at the time, and a lot of these items on here, if you would look them over, I don't know if she's gave you a list of this.
I have nothing.
Would be considered as, you know, when we lived together, if we went out someplace and I paid, I didn't consider it to be a loan.
What do you mean?
Like, there's an item on here, half the cost of portraits that we had done together.
Just a second. You had portraits done together. And she put down half the cost.
Right.
I paid the full amount on my credit card.
Well, that sounds fair to me. Doesn't that sound fair to you? Did you go and sit for the portrait?
Well, yes, I did.
She's not asking you to pay for the whole thing, just half.
Right. I understand that.
So give me another one.
Sega game.
Sega game.
Oh, sorry, Sega game tapes.
Those yours?
Yeah. They are now. At the time, you know, like I said, we were a couple.
You're a couple. So it's Sega game, yours. Go. Well, give me another one.
Compact discs. Did she listen to the music too? I don't know which specific compact discs they are. Building supplies. I don't remember that one. Building supplies.
What are
for
building
what?
supplies?
I don't remember exactly what it was for, but it was from Builder Square, and he was a subcontractor. I'm not. So
Which
I would
is
have
true. I
no
was
need.
a subcontractor, but at the same time, building supplies. Was it for something that we did? I remember the place that we lived in. There was a. We were going to put a fence around the place for the guy that we leased from. You know, I mean, there was just different items at different
just
times.
a second. Did you put a fence around the house?
No, we didn't, but the
Well,
materials
if you
were...
didn't, then what are you telling me the story about?
My point is this, though, Your Honor. When we lived together, the things that she bought, I didn't keep an itemized list, so I can't very well stand here and argue with her and say, well, I bought this and you bought that, so we should be even, because, like I said, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you don't keep receipts for different things that you buy for each other, but she did because she put them on her card. Now, I don't see, whereas, like I said, in a relationship that You just do that
Can
as a
I
couple.
see the things, please?
Or at least I do.
Miss Newdecker, let me look through some of these things. Men's dress clothes for grandfather's funeral.
I didn't remember that she'd bought them. Like I said, of course, I didn't remember what all was on the list.
She's got the list and she's got the bills. You need a muffler and brakes for your car at one point?
I don't remember that either, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. This has been,
Did you have
like I said,
an El
5 years
Camino?
ago. Yes, I did.
There you go. All right. Now, so I am assuming for the purpose of this case that originally you owed her the $2,600 and that you made payments and she's kept very careful records of those payments and that all she claims that you owe her is $870. But what I really think you're probably angry about, sir, is that she wrote a letter to you which your wife opened. This is your wife?
Yes.
That created some problems for you?
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the amount that I owed her. I honestly did not remember those other items, so
Okay, well,
I didn't
now-
believe that I owed them.
Well, now you do. So your wife opened this letter, and did that distress you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, step up here. Why did it distress you?
Because she said on the letter that my husband had went to see her 9.5 weeks ago, and I had no idea he was keeping in contact with her because of the first time and the last time I've ever met her, she tried running me and my husband off the road because she was, I guess, mad that he was going to stay with me and not her. We had only been dating on and off for a month.
How long are you married?
2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. You have any children?
Yep.
How old?
She's going to be 21 months.
And that's his baby?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you have a seat? How come you're still going to this lady to cut your hair?
The purpose for me going to talk to her was because I owed her this money. But I did tell her that I would pay her.
And while you were there, you got your hair cut?
Yeah, I went to her place of business to see her. I don't...
Going to a place of business is one thing. Sitting down and schmoozing and having your hair cut is another thing. That's what really made your wife angry. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you charge him for the haircut?
Yeah, I gave him a discount, though.
Should have charged him full price.
I know that now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Key, sometimes men do really dumb things. I don't know why they do that. They think they can get away with it. You always get caught. You know why? Because women are great snoops. Terrific. They can smell something that isn't right. Go to a barber. Meanwhile, it sounds to me, Mr. Key, that you got more trouble than the $870 that you owe this lady. It also looks to me as if you've got a very nice but very sad wife and a 21-month-old baby. So you better get your act together. You owe her $870.37. Pay her. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
हाँ खाना खाएंगे आप बाबा खाएंगे लाइए हाँ लाइए लाइए बाबा खिलाइए यम्मी है
और जिस्मानी नशोनुमा के लिए शोध कराएं। वायु का
मेरे पास तो कुछ भी नहीं, थोड़ा सा कुछ
मनपसंद चीजें और खाने एंजॉय कर सकते हैं। मैं रेकमेंड करती हूँ सेंसोडाइन रैपिड को रोजाना बकायदे से इस्तेमाल, क्योंकि ये पेशेंट्स वापस आके बताते हैं इट वर्क्स।
That's the ball in the back end. Dubai Capitals, they go at it again. Match number 4. Alright, 6 p.m. in Abu Dhabi.
मैं भी खाना बनाऊंगी, मैं भी जाना चाहिए।
Stadium, down the road to Abu Dhabi.
मैं जाना है।
एडमिशन मायरा खाना मायरा आओ चिन खिला दूं प्लीज प्लीज मायरा खाना चिन
Over the top of the short third, down the boundary.
मम्मा मेरा फोन चार्ज आप ले लें।
आप लगा लेना ऐसा क्या मायरा भी दे दूं
मैं बस आना चाहिए।
लाइए क्या खिलाएंगे आप बाबा तो Oh wow Myra yummy yummy give it to me हाँ लेकर आओ thank you Myra हाँ वो ना दे दी आपने जल्दी 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 बना के बाबू जल्दी जल्दी हमारा बाबा के लिए खाना बना के लेकर आओ
अब्दुल्ला जी तुम्हें कुछ पकाने की जरूरत नहीं है जरा
मम्मा मम्मा
मैं दुपट्टा लेकर बैठी मजा आ रही है
क्यों कर रहे हो आप ऐसा
नहीं आ रही ठीक है
क्यों कर रहे हो
काम है वाओ वाओ यम्मी यम्मी वाओ थैंक यू अर्मी थैंक यू मायरा वेरी नाइस
मैं जल्दी बना समझ तो मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आया यार
Thank you, Myra.
लो
Bye, 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 bye.
मायरा
Abdullah di.
चिन 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 कौन खाएगा ओती ओती कौन खाएगा आओ बैठो
Thank you.
आओ बैठो रमेश एक लड़के कोई आवाज नहीं निकालेगा रोटी खाना है
Thank you, Myra.
वॉशरूम में आना है।
अच्छा चलिए
डॉक्टर
आई क्या कर रहा है लड़का पता नहीं। जल्दी खाओ, नो टाइम। लो देखिए जी, एक हाथ से पकड़ा भी हो जरूर।
आइए इधर आइए, बाबा से इधर आइए।
खड़े रहो बेटा।
ओहो मारा।
हमारा बाइट लेने आए। अच्छा तो बाइट तो ले ले।
नहीं मम्मा बाइक नहीं लाई है।
चिन ले ले। बदमाशी नहीं करे, जल्दी आए। बदमाशी देखा तो चिन पे आती है, चिन पे आती है। लो चिन।
What is this? What this place is?
खाने खागा।
खाने खागा। जाना है आपको? इस प्लेस में जाना है? What is this? This is Allah house.
उसको पता है?
House of Allah. ठीक है अब्दुल आदि, हम लोग सब चल रहे हैं यहाँ पे। हमारे को भी लेके जाएंगे, मम्मा को भी लेके जाएंगे, दादा को भी लेके जाएंगे, दादू को भी लेके जाएंगे, मम्मा भी वहाँ पी लेंगे जाके हम लोग।
नहीं, नो, नो।
इधर आना जरा बुड्ढी, बुड्ढी, नहीं बुड्ढी इधर आओ। नहीं नहीं बेबी को जोर से हैंडल।
यहाँ पे चलेंगे इस वाले ना।
लो बेटा, चिन थूकना नहीं, पानी दो उसको। वो आपका फिड्डू ले, आराम से पहले फीडर ले ले, सब रख दे। आपको मिर्ची लगी है मायरा? जल्दी से पिला दो, जल्दी से पिला दो बेटा। होती अच्छी है, तूने आदि की हालत देखी, होती अच्छी है। मुँह देखिए, नहीं चाहिए। अच्छा मामा ले लो, हमारा मेयोनीज ले लो। हटो मेरी जगह। कढ़ाई लो, लो बना लूंगी इसके बाद। लो बोल सब रोज बना लूँ। नोखा बनेगा, जरा सा हड्डी वालों के साथ होता था ब्रोस्ट तो मजा ही हड्डी में। बेटा बोलिए, उसको बुलाओ। लेकिन ये तो मायरा की बाइट थी रमेश, आपने क्यों? मायरा प्यार से बोलो।
मायरा इधर आओ, चिंचिन लेने जल्दी से।
मायरा बाइट लेनी पड़ेगी।
रमेश आप मत हाथ लगाइए ना,
बाइट लेके चले जाओ। इधर आओ, जाओ अमीशा आओ। तुम तो मेरे पास बैठ जाओ, प्याला लेके बैठ जाओ ना। क्या हुआ? दोपहर में जब मैंने लोगों को ऑमलेट खिलाया ये पीछे से हाथ ऐसे ऐसे करके ऑमलेट मारा था, सॉरी मैंने इसको ऑमलेट दिया, इसको ऑमलेट
कल्लू लड़ाओ ने मॉर्निंग में खिलाया पिज़्ज़ा बनाया पराठा ने बैठाया उसके पास में कोई पर ऑमलेट भी
किसने खिलाया? ये तो आपने मुझे पहले भी बताया था, पिज़्ज़ा पराठा खा लिया मैंने कि बिलाल शुजा के साथ में।
वो ये नहीं गया वो पहले वो चले अच्छा तो लगा
अंडे का पिज़्ज़ा पराठा
अंडा बिछा हुआ पूरे पराठे की
अच्छी लग रही है। मायरा